We're live, ladies and gents. Welcome back. This is a special live stream. We're gonna have some fun tonight, talking about the content police on YouTube or just on the internet at large. Tonight, joining me, Frank Vaughn. A special treat. This is great. Frank, thank you so much for joining me. You were one of the only ones to cover this story after it went out.
No one else picked it up?
People have picked it up, and I've talked to some people privately. I'm not going to say names. Some people are going to talk about it, haven't yet. Some people are shying away from it. They don't want anything to do with it because they're worried about target being being drawn on them. And that's a thing. That's legitimately a thing for a lot of people, worried about themselves and worried about what could happen there. The reason why I jumped on this one right away, and I was so upset about it, is because it's an injustice. It's a complete injustice.
It's wrong on every level that you have a state agency, state media, which means it's state agency. I mean, I think you could use the terms interchangeably, going around and being proud and boasting that they're getting YouTubers removed, whether you like their content or not. It's really disturbing that CBC is doing that. And then at the end of the video, they say, is there anyone else you'd like us to have a look at? Like they're offering their services to take down content on behalf of the public. And you're right. It's way outside their mandate.
Way outside their mandate. And you can look on the CBC's website. They have their charter. They have what it is that they've laid out to do, and in there is nothing to do with saying what can and cannot be said on the airwaves in Canada. It has everything to do with reporting news. Canadian culture mostly is the mandate. The whole reason why CBC exists in the first place was because they thought at the time that there was a lack of Canadian presence on the airwaves, which was literally airwaves, right? We're not talking the internet days. We're talking like way long ago when they would use what was it, UHF, VHF, or different
both.
Both of those as frequencies where you could pick up with bunny ears or whatever news broadcasts. And Canada was largely flooded with the United States because, I mean, who else is going to make a television broadcaster and put all that infrastructure in just for a tiny demographic? I mean, it's not tenable or viable. So the government stepped in, as any good socialist government, and said, that's our job. And not only we're going to take over that job, but we're going to mandate anyone else who might come into the presence of that industry and regulate what it is that they say and do on that. Now, fast forward all these years later, we're in the internet realm. Nobody uses VHF or UHF at all anymore. That's not even a frequency. So if you don't get your CBC on bunny ears, you have no one to complain to. The mandate's over, in my estimate. The mandate's over. But that being said, they've found themselves into a new era where they believe that they belong. They belong on the internet. They belong on cable television, and now they're going further. They're going even further, and they're going into the realm of policing who can say what and where on private networks, nonetheless. Now, for those perhaps that haven't heard about the story, this all came out last week on my live stream. In fact, Frank, you were in the chat on the live stream, and it was randomly one of the viewers on the show jumped in and said, have you seen this, Clyde? This is ridiculous. It was posted today. And I suppose for the sake of making this all, make sense, we should just watch and comment over this video and then get into the whole story of it. Does that sound like a good way of doing it? Or
Sure. Whatever you want to do.
Also, I'm going to try to keep the chat on the screen as much as possible tonight during the live stream, because this is the community stream. So every Friday we do the community stream, and it's really about reaching out to the community and talking about the big stories of the week or things that got missed, stuff like that. So unfortunate part about the technology that we're using, this StreamYard, I can only display one thing at a time. So if I put a website up, I got to take the stream chat down, but I want to make sure that everybody in the chat is being addressed. So, hey, everybody, before we get into reviewing this, let's just give a big shout out to the chat and say, hey to everybody. Courageous Clyde says, Sandy, coming out with the CBCBS good work. And it's not just me. There's some other people working on this. Frank Vaughn, for one. So Monday, you did a fantastic video about this.
Yeah, it was. I should have put it at the first part of the video, but I mean, it's a really important documentary. And you're talking about, so the CBC came about when Canada was still a nation, before post-nationalism came along, before official multiculturalism was taken off, and it was a counter to American culture because we were swimming in it. But as time's gone by and we've become a post-national state, it's morphed into an organization that's based on propaganda. And like so much about this country, and this is the only point I wanted to make, is that they're drifting outside of their mandate, much like a lot of the federal agencies and bureaucracy is drifting outside of their mandate and kind of making it up as they go. Like, law doesn't have as much power, as in it's not as founded, it's not as written in stone. Mandates aren't as set as they used to be. Everything's kind of malleable, and it's like watching government interpretive dance. They're just making it up as they go. So CBC is now going to be, I guess, acting as an adjunct of the CRTC. Like, they're drifting, and they have no shame.
Well, the CRTC has no jurisdiction over this as well, right? The CRTC is there to go after publishers, but user generated websites, platforms, they're not publishers. The DMCA, the Digital and Millennial Copyright Act of 2000, defined this, and they have no jurisdiction over this. Somebody in the chat, it just scrolled by, said that Jasmine Lane also did one on this. I wasn't aware that she did one on this. I know she was working on one. So she was one of the ones I was telling you about that was working on this story as well. So big shout out to her, Jasmine Lane, for having well, she doesn't have balls, but she has the cojones, the
got ovaries, man.
She's got ovaries to do this story. Because I mean, yeah, we're all putting a target on our backs by doing this story. That's the reality. But somebody's got to come out, because this is that, for me, it's one of those moments. It's like what's that first they came poem from World War II? Yeah. First they came for the communists, and I did nothing because I'm not a communist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did nothing because I'm not a Jew. And it goes on. And at the end, and then they came for me, and there was nobody left to help me. And that's really where we're at. So yeah, we all got to join forces on this one, because the CBC, wow, indeed.
The fact that they walked it back and they changed the title just shows that they understand exactly what they did and how it looks, and they don't want to catch any liability out of it, because they could get sued for damages.
Oh, they're going to get sued.
I believe that they will, because the channel owner didn't violate any of YouTube's rules in a way that warrants termination. So
and no warning termination as well.
That's great. So hopefully he's got warning. A lawyer.
Well, did you see him on Azure Land today?
No, I didn't. Not today.
We're gonna go over that too. So that's great. This is gonna be a fun stream, ladies and gents. Grab yourself a wobbly pop, get yourself a seatbelt, strap yourselves in, because we're gonna go for a ride. This one is crazy, and it's it's really crazy. Yard Prep says we should shut down state media's YouTube channels by mass reporting. Moose has an army of 100K. Use the left's tactics. See, that's the thing. You can't advocate for something like that. No, that's against the terms of service. I would never advocate for something like that. And I don't agree with it. I don't agree with what they did. And I don't think that we should do the same to them. I think what we should do is go after what they did. And what they did was wrong. It was absolutely wrong what they did. And we're going to go over all of that, which is, this is just insane. So I'm going to have to do a little shifty doodah back and forth here to make this all work.
Is that the technical term? Shifty doodah?
Shifty doodah is the technical term, and How do we make this? You and I are going to get real shifty doodah in the coming months because you and I are going to be part of the Reclaiming Conference. That's going to be really cool. And for those that don't know about this, y'all should get on over to the We Unify website where they haven't announced what we're going to be doing there yet. That's coming, but it's going to be a big, amazing show. So I want to recommend everybody get over there. Not to mention it's pre-early ticket sales at the moment. So if you buy a ticket, and especially if you buy the whole weekend, now you're going to save a ton. Believe me, this is like the moment to buy your tickets if you're going to be there in person. So it's going to be in Calgary on the 19th through the 21st of September. It's going to be amazing. The roster, this isn't even close to everybody. I know some of the people who have been confirmed that they can't make the announcement for. Believe me, it's exciting and it's going to be a lot of fun. And a lot of your favorites from online are going to be out there as well. So
it's going to be like esports meets CPAC. It's going to be lit.
It's going to be lit.
It really is. I think it's something that's never been done before.
Yep. And last year was fantastic, but this year I think it's going to be off the charts and it's going to be big. And, you know, it was too hot for British Columbia. British Columbia just didn't want the conference because they can't handle opinions, right of Mao. So
it's kind of a miracle that it happened really in Victoria. I mean, kudos to everybody for pulling that off.
Yeah.
Like really, should all get a pat on the back for that. Victoria is not exactly the most welcoming city for divergent opinion.
No. And there was a protest for a short period. And then I think they saw like they saw a Palestinian flag and then they were like squirrel and went over that way. It was hilarious.
There was a Starbucks across the road.
Yeah. So let's get into this. This is the story here. This is the story from CBC. Just happenstance that the screen.
She's not angry.
No, she's not. She's not angry at all. No, Nora Young.
There's no seethe.
There's none at all. Now, I want to preface this because we're going to get into some of the stuff where they'll try to they're trying to play it off like as if they don't technically know how YouTube works and how this stuff works. And even in this video, they're playing it off like they don't understand it. I want to point this out. There was a radio show. It went on for, I don't know, well over a decade. Wow, almost 2 decades. And the show was called Spark, and it was hosted by Nora Young. And what was the show about? It was a Canadian talk radio show about technology and culture, hosted by Nora Young. The program made its CBC Radio 1 debut in September of 2027 or 2007. Not even, you don't even say 20, you say 2007. It was that long ago. The show was also broadcast on Who Cares, and since January 9th, 2010 on Who Cares network station. Anyway, it was notable enough to be syndicated on other broadcasts. They covered technology.
They're not like when they make that documentary, man. They're not talking to you and me. They're not talking to our audiences. They're talking to the 65 plus demographic that still watches TV.
People who never listened to this show and don't understand technology.
That's right. This show probably failed because no one wanted to listen to it on their platform.
Well, exactly. And so when you listen to what she's saying here, take it with a grain of salt that she actually knows what she's talking about. And some of the mistakes that we point out here, she knows. Like it's obvious that they're BSing you in this. So might as well start it right from the top.
Oh, man, I was just about to screen grab that, but that's okay.
I can send you the screen. I have it.
Please do. Please do.
It's a picture.
I need that in my life. I need that in my folder. Source material.
Source material. Where is it? Oh, I've got it right here. That's it right there.
Oh, it's beautiful. It just kind of captures the whole thing.
It does. It captures the
spirit of the moment. Yep.
It's very much so.
That's CBC in a nutshell, and just with a $1.6 billion price tag. That's what it buys you.
Light Giver says, "Hey, I'm 72 and I canceled my cable 3 years ago." Well, good on you, man. Not everyone your age has. That's
There's
the
millions of people like you out there too, my friend, but you're just outnumbered by millions more of the other kind. So whenever I'm talking about the 65 pluses, keep that in mind, that I know there's a lot of you out there who do things differently.
Gene Feist says, "I'm in BC and yeah, it was awesome. Talking about the conference, it's discussing what happened to it. Well, I think you're talking about the conference. Yeah, it was crappy how they made it so they just can't operate in BC. Who cares? We're gonna move.
We'll go to
We're gonna
Calgary.
move.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Good luck.
What
Getting to see Calgary.
may become an independent state all of its own. Cable cancel my cable in 2007. I'm 65.
Good on you.
Good on ya. All right, let's get I'm on the wrong page now. Back to this. Let's pick this apart piece by piece, and then we're going to go into some of the stuff that went after, because there's a letter to the ombudsman, there's the response that I got from the ombudsman, a lot of stuff, and then actually getting in touch with the gentleman who ran the channel that's in question here, and what he had to say, what his correspondence was like with YouTube, with the CBC, what they were doing back and forth. Crazy story here. Let's get into it.
Democrats keep getting humiliated on national television.
Do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No. You've probably seen videos like this in your feeds before. They're confrontational and partisan.
If it hadn't have been for the Democrats and the Biden administration,
This is one of the most
I have to stop right there. They're confrontational and partisan, like the CBC. This is politics, baby. This is politics. It's confrontational and it's partisan. Is that not allowed? So first off, that's an argument, or is it an argument? It's ad hominem, is it not?
Well, even the way that they edit that together. So they start out, the leading element within the first, I think, 5 to 7 seconds is, are trans women. Picking that, so that the CBC editors decided to put that first, in itself is a subtle political statement that the suggestion that the answer no is wrong. Like, CBC's politics shine in this whole documentary. This itself is a partisan. This is a partisan production itself.
Oh, exactly. So the complaint that they first start out with is I mean, it's a sort of a Freudian slip of a complaint of their own work in this in this task. Incredible.
most popular Canada-based news accounts on YouTube. But it's not really news. It's more like what people call a content farm.
Okay, so right away we've come out with an editorialization, right? So content farm it's an ad hominem attack on a type of content that you don't like. What is the definition of a content farm?
CBC, National Post, Toronto Star, Toronto Sun. They create content and they farm it out for money. That's what everybody does. I mean, so there you go. But it's an AI content farm, I guess. CBC's not AI yet. It's a $1.6 billion organization with a lot of employees, and they're very real people. So I guess there's a little bit of a difference.
So as it turns out, there's no AI involved in this stuff. There's no AI
Just
farming.
the voiceover, right?
No, in fact, the voice is the guy's voice, because I spoke to him on the phone. Yeah, it's his voice. He said that he used some enhancements to make his voice sound better because he didn't want to spend all the money on studio equipment.
Right.
But outside of that, I mean, what is that? Like, so, CBC, when they made this production, when they used nice equipment, is that an enhancement that's unallowed? You know what I mean? Like, so there's his voiceover is not AI, which I got that wrong when I wrote my letter to the ombudsman. And hey, guess what? I can admit that I'm wrong about a thing. Join the club, CBC. Of course, this might be a litigation nightmare for them, and this is why they're not going to admit any wrongdoing. But they have, in a way. We're going to get into that. So, AI content farm, or a content farm, is an ad hominem attack at just content that they just don't like. That's all that means. at this point. So there's no real definition for that.
We'll break down the formula that makes it so popular and try to find out who's behind this channel.
Well, if they knew the formula, wouldn't they be doing it themselves and become good channels, or have a good channel and make it anywhere? Well, obviously this guy's beating him out, and that's really what's upset them at this point.
Why would someone start a channel like this? Like, what's it for?
You know, it's for making money.
Frank, it's for making money. You know, and this is one of the things that really irked me right from the get-go, is that is such a communist thing to say. I hate to say it, like I probably sound like McCarthy right now. Like, they sound like communists, and by all means they are. By all means they are. They're government employees, and they're commenting on, and don't tell me that they're not government employees. They work for the CBC, which is funded by the government. It's run by the government. It's for the government. They're employees of that agency. They're government employees. And they're talking about how it's wrong for somebody else to make money, or at least insinuating that. What did you get from that?
Well, exactly that somebody who's successfully generating enough money on their own to pay the bills and to keep producing content is somehow a threat to a company that is 100% state funded that can't buy 1 million views on a video to save their lives. I mean, the best they did was the election night coverage, and the Sean Newman bit. I mean, it's going to kick their butt in a couple cycles. Like, the podcasting community is going to be totally burying legacy media within the next 4 to 8 years. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. There's nothing that can stop this freight train, but they want to stop it because it completely undermines their reason to exist. And
what's underlined in this whole thing, though, is this disdain for people who make money in their ventures, right? As if, you know, people might say, "Oh, well, Clyde, why does he go to that garage every day and pull wrenches?" Well, he does it for money. And then we'll have a laugh together. Like, of course.
It's almost like it's shame. It's almost like they have some kind of shame that they actually they're hiding some kind of identity crisis or a feeling of lack or shortcoming in their own endeavors because they can't make money. So they're trying to justify their own existence against people who are more successful than they are. And that sucks because, like, that's you need to break out of that. If you're constant, like, every single person on this planet looks up to somebody. There's always someone bigger. Elon Musk probably struggles with communication, even though he has 110 million followers on X or whatever the hell he has now.
That would be a struggle.
He can't reach everybody. Like, he can't even reach probably half of America with his audience. It's just the way it is. So if you're constantly looking to the next person who's doing better than you and using that as your frame of reference for your own performance, you're never going to get anywhere. You're just going to be disappointed forever. And it's like CBC is a great big echo chamber for that kind of behavior.
Absolutely. Let's get back to the show here.
If you dig into this channel, you can see it has a clear formula. Here's the strategy. Take a clip of a confrontation between a conservative figure and a liberal. Focus.
You saw where I got that screen grab, didn't you? That's why you're laughing.
I'm laughing at what she's saying. Like, if you dig into the strategy behind this, it's like the whole thing comes off as Magnum PI. It's like it's Miami Vice. They're going on this sleuthing hunt and they're exposing some kind of corruption or criminality, and it's really just some dude making YouTube videos. You know, like it.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. If you dig into this, if you dig into their strategy and you keep digging, you know where you end up. You end up at Joseph Goebbels.
Yeah, well, pretty much. I mean, it's not far different. They like to claim it is, but 100% state-funded media. They produce ridiculous content outside of news. I mean, like they can't sell their shows anymore because they've more or less destroyed all of Canadian content and culture, modernizing it with DEI woke nonsense. And their news file is just, it's propaganda. and everybody knows it. Nobody wants to read it. Even people on the left don't read it. They go elsewhere for their news diets. That's a problem for them.
It is a problem for them, and they're going to shorts, the shorts algorithm, and getting fed videos from this channel.
Focus on
I'm
the
not that
moment
old,
where
Neil.
they humiliate.
You're not that old, who?
I'm just culturally familiar. Neil Murphy says Miami Vice. Frank is old. Not that old.
Fair enough.
Destroy, or humble that liberal. Add what seems to be an AI voiceover framing the confrontation.
What seems to be an AI voiceover was actually not an AI voiceover. It was actually his real voice. But so what if you use keywords?
Someone he wrote the script. Like it's his voice. He could have used a sample of his voice to get AI to make the voice, but he still has to write the script. It's content, you know.
You know what I found out recently? So I found out recently I have because I pay licenses. I have to pay a bunch of different licenses to do the job that I do, right? And with the music license that I have with that provider, they also give me credits for voiceovers. Like they have actual voice actors on file that I can commission and have them do voiceover stuff. What's different? How is that any different? It's not my voice. Like you said, if I scripted it, it's not my voice. Somebody else did it. So what?
Still your script.
Yeah. What if I wrote a whole script with a bunch of different voices and people that acted those things out? You'd call that a freaking movie. Like, what's the problem? There's no problem. We'll find out what the problem is essentially what it comes down to. This is a bunch of gaslighting to make you think that something else is the issue when it's not that. And then they're pointing out here like humbles, destroys, all these keywords. Well, these are keywords, and that's how the game is played. Don't hate the player, hate the game if you don't like the game. Talk to YouTube, not about banning channels. Talk to YouTube about changing the way they do their algorithm. You know what they'll tell you? They'll tell you, yeah, okay, we'll work on that. They're not going to work on it. It's how they serve people more content that they want to watch.
It's also human nature. It's no mistake that like some of the biggest channels out there have completely misleading titles and misleading thumbnails that have nothing to do with the content because people want to click on something that's too fantastic to believe. People love narratives. I went over that in my last video, how people are addicted to narratives and they fall into narrative holes all the time, like Charles's throne and Charles's visit and all the things that went on there. So headlines like this are tame compared to what other channels are doing to get clicks.
Yeah. Shiba Winu asks, what about VTubers? Yeah, what about VTubers? You know what a VTuber is, Frank?
No idea.
So a VTuber is a person who doesn't show up on the thing, but they'll often use like AI generated animations so that they can have their webcam on in their thing, and then it generates a cartoon character or whatever.
All be the CBC should be in charge of who gets to do that for sure. CBC.
I think they're freaking weird, and uncanny valley for me. So like, I'm just gonna stay away from the VTuber community, but it doesn't mean that it can't be on the website. That's my thing, right?
I've watched that before, but I didn't know that's what it was called. And yeah, I'm with you on that. It seems a little strange, but
it's like furries. They creep me out, man.
Yeah, it's not really a rabbit hole I want to go down.
No, not at all. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ragman, weebs. And it's funny because like I'm you know, I lived in Japan. I speak Japanese and all that stuff, and people assume I might be a weeb. No, weebs are a different class, all of their own. Totally different breed. That's at least you guys show your faces. Yeah. I mean, there are good channels that don't show their faces, like Liberal Hive Mind. I like his channel. There's some others, but yeah, no, of course. But there is. I'll give some people credit for the anonymity thing, and including this creator that they're going after in this case. So let's get back to this.
Or humble that liberal. Add what seems to be an AI voiceover framing the confrontation,
This BLM activist is literally left speechless.
and keep
Dude, I talked to him, and that's his voice. I know he was on Ezra Levant, and they masked his voice on Ezra Levant's show, but that's his voice. And he even said, he's like, "This, it's my voice, whatever."
keep it to
So
a
like
minute,
that's
so.
one of their biggest talking points they've just lost already.
One of the biggest talking points is gone right there.
Yep.
Yeah. It's not an
could've-
AI farm. It is fair use for every clip that he used. That's absolutely fair use.
Like before they went complaining to YouTube, did they not think maybe they should try and talk to him? Like and give it some time, give him some time to respond.
We're gonna get into that because they went to talk to him, and it was all just, you know, trying to get information, trying to sound all buddy, and then once he found out what their motives were, he looked back at the conversation. He's like, "Holy crap, these guys are insidious." Yeah,
Yep.
like
Not
from the
journalists,
get-go.
they're activists with a big budget.
Peter from Edmonton catching the AVE shirt. Wow, good on you. Good on you for catching that. And I'm covering it halfway with my other shirt. So yeah, good on you. AVE is awesome. It's really good branding. His channel's awesome.
This isn't original content. The videos are ripped from Senate hearings, university lectures, or TV shows. It's all
As if CBC doesn't use Parle View and then publish stuff and then make commentary on it.
Yep. They play clips all the time, don't they?
They
I believe
sure
they
do.
broadcast news conferences verbatim. Yep. Seems like it's good for them. Should be
Yeah.
good for everyone else.
You know what they would argue? They'd probably argue fair use doctrine, something that's in copyright law that has been for some time. Yeah. They'd probably say that. Well, here's
I'm amazed they
Nora.
haven't complained about us playing these yet. I mean, this should be a public asset since we pay for it. But we're commentating over top of it, just like they commentate over top of other things.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do about this. If they did, it would be a gross abuse of the copyright system.
They would look even more terrible than they do right now.
Yeah, they don't need that. Yeah, they definitely don't need that. Oh, is this G Water saying CBC is jealous and butthurt? Yep. Yeah, they are. Just wait to see how bad it gets. It's incredible.
all part of a bigger trend.
The content farm can take many different forms, but these channels in particular do seem to be using the political content.
I don't think that's a guy's actually. I think he changed his name to that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Paris Marx.
I think that's a pseudonym.
It's kind of narrative. It's a narrative itself, actually. Paris Marx. Like we could do a video on that, but I think it's outside the purview of this one.
Okay.
Many different forms, but these channels in particular do seem to be using the political content in particular and what they feel is going to drive the engagement.
And that's exactly the kind of sweet spot this creator has unlocked.
He's unlocked the sweet spot. The sweet spot in. Oh yeah.
And how many times have they used Poilievre's face? That same clip. I think we're up to 4 times now.
You know what's crazy is they'll go on to explain how he mainly does American content, doesn't really talk about Pierre at all these days. But you're right.
Too. Right at the leading 10 seconds, which is the most important.
It fits their narrative, so they're using those clips heavily in this. French Albertan for $10 says, why he answered their emails in the first place. I don't get it. People have to stop playing ball with mainstream media. People learn nothing since 2020. Well, we'll get into it because it was all in good faith. It was all in good faith.
I disagree.
And he didn't divulge.
If the CBC is watching this or one of their lawyers, please email me. Get in touch. Give me a call.
Yeah.
Let's do a live stream together. Please contact me. I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it.
Awesome.
I'd love to have a sit down.
Yep.
And I'd love to, well, obviously recorded for all of our protection and maybe even live stream. Let's do it publicly. Why not?
Yep.
That would be
Why not?
That would be
Some
just
makes
absolutely
best first
fair.
effect.
Finding
We've
the
looked into
sweet
this
spot.
channel before. They used to post cheap fakes about Canadian politics, but it's almost all American now. The Canadian ones they still post aren't as popular. We also noticed a change in where this person is posting. Most of the content is uploaded to
You notice they didn't define what a cheap fake is.
Yeah, I did notice. And to be completely honest, I don't know what the difference is between a cheap fake and a deep fake. Is that just where they use an AI voice over, like, what is it? What's the difference? Do you know what the difference is?
I don't know. I think we went over this in last week's live stream. Let me just Google it real quick. Because it's just versus deep fake.
Do a Rage Farm video with CBC lawyers, says Diane Sylvain. It's a good idea. If you get some super chats going, then they could complain about that.
He's making money. I got to look into this because I'm moving to the United States, and Donald Trump just made the announcement that they're no longer collecting taxes on tips. So I want to find out, because super chats are tips technically. Can we write off our super chats on tips as Americans?
Spectrum of Reality is as envious as CBC. That's for sure. Jealous, definitely.
So I have this here. Cheap fakes versus deep fakes. Videos made by, may be manipulated by hand or with the help of AI. False videos can be created using sophisticated technology and artificial intelligence, but most of the video-based information you see online was easily created using simple video editing software, or even with no software at all, if the video was presented out of context. Watch MediaWise campus correspondent. Yeah. So basically, if you're not using AI, you're just using video software techniques or cutting clips out of context, it's a cheap fake. So every time the CBC does a clip out of context, it's a cheap fake.
They're doing cheap fakes.
So everybody who said that Donald Trump perpetuated the very fine people
Beautiful
hoax.
people and
the very fine people thing. So is that cheap faking?
I guess so. I guess it is. I can't wait for their video on that.
Oh, I can't wait for that. You know how long it took for Snopes to even write an article about the thing?
Till long after it had any relevance. They always do their corrections way once the story's already dead. I'm reading Michael Schellenberger's Apocalypse Never. He talks about that, how corrections, they talk about all these apocalyptic climate predictions, and then the media runs with these stories, and then they issue corrections 3-6 months down the road when nobody cares. Nobody's ever going to see the correction, so they can claim they're honest, but they've still misled the public.
Oh, we're gonna go there. We're gonna go there tonight with this story. Believe me, we're going there. But here's Snopes. No, Trump did not call neo-Nazis and white supremacists very fine people. However, the accuracy of what Trump did claim, blah, 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 2017. So 2017, it happened. When was this published? June 21st, 2024.
So it only took them 7 years. Not bad.
They're the fact checkers, man. They're the fact checkers. This was like the most perpetuated hoax ever. The very fine people hoax.
And it was
unbelievable.
I watched that press conference. I believe it was a press conference. I watched it, and I could not believe the hoopla that came out of that, because at that time I was still paying attention to, like, the only way to understand Trump, probably still, is to actually just listen to him talk, because nobody's giving you what he says unfiltered. You could argue that he's not even giving it to you unfiltered. You have to really learn how to listen to him. But like, so many times these big stories, these outrage cycles would spawn, and I'm like, I was there. There was nothing there. And the whole world's going crazy because of something that isn't there. And it happens over and over and over again.
I'm trying to figure this one out. Here, Clyde, you dropped your hand money Q brain Laughing emoji. I don't know what that means. Do you know? Can you do
And
charades?
money. No, dude. Bill Q, dollar Q. What? I have no idea.
Working on that one.
They're either being clever or they're calling you stupid. I can't figure out which one.
Oh, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe that's what it is
Could
then.
be. You never know. You do have your dedicated haters. I know that.
Oh, I do. Don't you? Doesn't everybody?
We all do. I live
Yes.
rent free in so many heads.
That's awesome. Mass formation. We got Northern Gal saying they go crazy because of TDS. Yes. TDS is something else. TDS is really something else. All right. So we've defined deep fakes or that. So cheap fakes are just, I don't know, anything that's CBC. I mean, sorry, anything that's taken out of context and reported to you without the full context. That's how that works. Or just using editing skills. Didn't CBC recently do that when they edited Pierre Polyev and something they said, and they took audio from another clip and then they laced it over? They had to do like a big apology.
It's different when they do it. It's morally righteous. Okay, it's morally righteous.
It was funny when they did their apology too, because they went, "Oh, we weren't aware, but one of our video editors accidentally did that." And it's like, wow, I do video editing. You don't accidentally lace over the audio from another clip and put it into the.
And come on, you are trying to cover up the culture at CBC by blaming one isolated dude. Like, the culture spawns that. That's CBC. Try getting Clyde, do something. Should go get a job at CBC. See how long you last. Like, I mean, see if you can even give your resume in.
You know what? They won't hire me because I'm a white man.
Sinful. Maybe I should try.
It's written in the applications. It says like we're looking for this, and white man is not covered, but everything that's not white man is covered.
It's pretty sick, and that's everywhere. It's not just CBC. Like, that's even some of the mining companies out here in the West. They're diversity hiring, and it sucks. You know,
Despite you saying time for Clyde to dress like a tranny.
Actually, yeah, if you start identifying as a woman, you should probably be able to land a job.
I think I'm dressed like a dyke tonight. Anyway, I mean, I look like I should be driving a Subaru. Anyway, let's get back.
Look at Spectrum. He's still going, eh? Just giving her. Having a good
Who's
time.
Spectrum?
Yeah, don't put him on screen. I mean, don't give him that kind of time, but yeah, just pay attention as it goes because he won't quit.
Oh, okay. Cool. I like when people are, they go crazy.
They're engaged. I'm
not seeing it. I don't know why.
I'm just trying to keep him going at this point. He doesn't like you, Clyde. It's okay.
Isn't that cute? I have fun with that. No, I genuinely do. It's fun. Neil Murphy for $20. Very generous. Thank you so much. CBC will hate you, by the way, for having done that. Truth telling is not merely an act of honesty, but a revolutionary stance against an oppressive force of deceit. I've heard that before. Is that a quote from something?
Excellent English, either way. Impeccable.
Very.
Very good.
I like that. Thank you very much.
That Alberta Nan comment. I work in safety in oil and gas. DEI is scary when you have unqualified people running 300-ton equipment. It's so true. And it's in every heavy industry. Every heavy industry is sticking unskilled people behind the wheel, cutting them loose. Trucking's huge. Like, there's a bunch of channels and good people who cover the trucking industry, but it's something that CBC should cover. You think they would be interested in all the death and destruction going on the two highways that connect this country together, west and east. And there's a lot of unskilled drivers out there driving big rigs. It's incredible.
It's terrifying. The number of ones that have just like not even a rookie mistake. Like, what were you thinking? Going under underpasses, like full speed, not even reading the sign.
Yeah. Some dangerous stuff.
Unreal. Dude, it's really crazy. It's really crazy. One of my moderators, Cracker, telling me you can't say that, Clyde. I was talking about, the separator between a body of water and the mainland.
He actually thinks we're not going to get demonetized tonight.
Frank, the last time you were on with Zoltan, we were like, forget it. We said all the words, whatever. We're just gonna cut loose.
It lived, didn't it?
It lived. It lived. It didn't get touched.
We thought we were hooped. We just left it all on the field.
Yeah, that
There
was
was no holding back that night.
very Butch Clyde. I might get in trouble for that one. I did. I think I might.
Well, Sandy's a girl. She can get away with it. There's got to be some kind of hierarchical pecking order. She's not a white male. She's a white girl.
I don't think I'm allowed to get away with that. I drive I'm pretending I drive a Subaru. That's what it is. That's let's get back to the video at hand. So yeah, we've established the cheap fake thing, and that you're not allowed to make money for doing things. You're only allowed to work for the government and take taxpayer dollars. That's the good communist thing to do.
To YouTube, and that makes sense if the person is in Canada. You can't make money off TikTok views here, but a YouTube channel.
You can. You're wrong.
Yep.
You're absolutely wrong about that. So yeah, they don't have the monetization stuff going in Canada yet. But that doesn't matter. Like if you really wanted to make money on TikTok, all you gotta do is visit the United States, make a bank account, use a VPN when you upload, if that's what you wanted to do, or just do affiliate stuff. So there's a million affiliate things. But what would you know about that if all you've ever done for your entire career? Because I love this one. They criticized Pierre Poilievre a lot for only having ever been a politician. These people never worked in the private sector themselves. They've always worked as government workers. That's their thing. But yeah, explain to us why. And I love this. This is Social Blade for people who don't know, because if you're not on the back end, you don't spend time trying to figure out how to make your channel work and stuff like that. You've never probably visited this website. In fact, I don't even pay attention to this website anymore because it is so wrong so often that I discount it as even a thing to look at. But Social Blade is saying that this channel was pulling in anywhere between $79,000 and $1.3 million a year. I'll tell you straight out of the ground. Even the low ball is too high for what that channel was making, because it was short content, and shorts barely make any money. I've had some shorts take off like crazy, millions of views. I go look and I'm like, sweet. I wonder if I got a paycheck for that one. $20. That's cool, $20. But like, if you were banking on doing short content and making tons and tons of money, you're not making this kind of cash. That's
they want view time racking up. They want butts and seats.
Yeah, that's what it is. And not only that, so when the shorts algorithm, when the shorts first took off on YouTube, you couldn't put any like copyright music on it, but all the other sites were using copywritten music and it was taking off better. So YouTube had to figure out a way around it, because all the other sites they're flagrantly abusing the copyright system. That's what they're doing. And they're taunting the DMCA. YouTube has been pretty solid with the DMCA and with like a number of advocacy groups for, people getting what they're due for royalties and all this stuff. So YouTube, what they did was they made negotiations with the DMCA association, and they pay a sum to that, and then they can make ad revenue afterwards. So they do their payola, and then everything's good after that. So then what they did was they started paying out creators, but it's at such low numbers. It's really, really not that much. So monthly earnings of $17,000 a month, that is just not happening for a channel that does shorts content. You wouldn't know, Frank. You don't monetize your channel. I've been trying to get you on that for so long.
You're not alone. There's a whole army of well-meaning people who keep telling me to do that.
Frank,
One day you're probably going to win.
You do good work, and you deserve to get paid for it.
Yeah, but so I do have people who donate sometimes, and that helps out. And maybe over time that'll grow. But like some of the topics I talk about, like my fear is, because you're worried about saying certain words that might get you demonetized or might get you in trouble with YouTube. I haven't been in trouble with YouTube in a long time. And a couple of videos ago, I touched on some subject matter with the royal family and some things that were going on, some associations that, I mean, there's people who get their channels removed for that sort of stuff, and it's slipped under the radar, at least for now. Like, I just wonder, and this is all I'm trying to say, if I went that route, would the increased scrutiny be detrimental to the life of my channel?
I don't think so.
Because you got to go through it. Like they have to approve you, right? Because I almost started the process getting approved for it because it takes some time. But then I thought they're going to be watching all my videos. And it's not going to be hard for them to find something in there they don't like, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. But the reality of the situation is you'll get more reach because of it. So YouTube's in the business of making money. They're not doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. It's not altruism. They want to sell ads to people, and they want to sell ads to people in your demographic. That's the only reason why they would give those people your video. Now, if you're not monetized and you're not serving ads and you're not doing that stuff, then they're like, about giving that video to certain people. Sometimes they'll even serve ads, even though they're not. Yeah. And then you're just not getting a cut of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. You deserve to get paid for the work that you do. You put in hours on this stuff. And this is why I disagree with the argument of CBC here. Like you worked for it, you deserve it. And obviously, if people want to watch it, then that's something that they're interested in, and that should be rewarded.
You're correct, sir. As always. I know you're correct.
All right. Well, that's going to be one of those things that you'll have to decide on later. But yeah, so this is the back end. They're totally wrong on this assessment here with what they're saying.
TikTok views here, but a YouTube channel that can get millions of views, that could generate serious cash. This channel,
again, not really making that much cash,
has changed quite a bit. It used to focus on finance content. Clearly, they're searching for what will boost views and revenue. And for now, they've decided that's not Canadian news.
So they pivoted. Is that a crime to pivot, to get into something else? I used to make DIY stuff. Did you know that?
Yeah. When I farmed, I started out farming mainly vegetable crops in my garden and annuals with a little bit of perennial. Then I moved into perennials and kept the vegetable crops. Then I moved out of perennials into garlic. And by the end, I was growing nothing but garlic because that was my best seller. So like, if you don't change, you're not a very good business. But this goes towards CBC hating thriving businesses and thriving models. They don't like it. So if you are able to be a bit of a chameleon and change up things so that you can still succeed, I guess that's a threat to them. Like any good business will change with the times. I mean, Kodak didn't want to go to digital. Well, where's Kodak now?
I know that story. Holy cow. Did they avoid
Nokia
that?
used to make the best phone on the market. Where's Nokia? They didn't change with the times. Where's BlackBerry? I mean, they're still out there, but they're still out there. But
BlackBerry's hurting.
All of those smartphones.
Interrupt this for an announcement that Gmeister just gifted 5 Do Something memberships to the chat. Thank you so much. If you're in the chat and you just got a membership from Gmeister, give him a big old thank you in the chat. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Gee, my man, that's very generous of you. We got five new members of the channel. There's some fun emojis and stuff that you can use in the chat, as well as some other features like being able to watch some of the live streams after they're live, because we keep them up for members. So check that out. So yeah, if garlic's your best seller, sell more, grow more garlic. That's the thing. And you're a filthy communist if you think otherwise. That's my conjecture here to Miss Nora, the filthy. Sorry.
I mean, you know, this came up the other day when it came to the Canada Post. They were going to go on strike. Now they're not. They actually realized the terrible PR that going on strike again would be, and so now they've come up with this plan. I don't know if you know this, but instead of going on strike, they're doing an overtime protest. So like, there's no overtime, so they're going to delay the mail, but they're still going to keep postal services going, and they're not going to strike, not yet. But I was talking to a Canada Post employee in the comments section, and they just didn't get it. They did not get losses since 2018. They did not get the Canada Post is bleeding money. And I'm like, they've got financial statements. It's not a controversy. And they're like, yeah, but we handled 2.8 billion pieces of mail. So what? You handle the mail and you lose money. It's like the business mindset, you know, like if you don't have cars coming into the shop, you don't make money as a mechanic. You get laid off. If you don't have viewers coming to your channel, you don't make money doing videos, or you don't have a solid case for being if you can't grow, if you can't demonstrate growth. CBC doesn't demonstrate growth. They've demonstrated decline. And somehow in their mind, decline is not their responsibility. And decline, they have to justify it by attacking people who succeed. It sucks. It's a sucky way to be a human being. It's a sucky way to conduct business and society.
I see a big difference in my trade just between, you know, people who work as hourly wage mechanics and people who work as flat rate mechanics. So I'm a flat rate mechanic. So I get paid on the task that I do. I don't get paid
best. Yeah.
Oh, I make way more money, like, because I'm efficient. Yeah, I make way more money. And like, today's a perfect example, right? I was working at work. You know, I show up at 8. I usually work till 4. I don't take a lunch. I just eat on the fly. But I got the work. They fed me work. I had over 16 hours worth of work done before 2 o'clock, and I went home. That's 2 days pay. 2 days pay to show up and do not even a full day, right? It's not always gravy like that, and there's a little give and take on the whole thing, but the experience overall is, if you're a go-getter, you're gonna always come out on top, right? That's the way it works, and it's a great benefit to the person who owns the shop, who wants to, you know, take on all the responsibilities. And yeah, I don't want to mess with employees. That's my thing. Why I didn't get into owning my own shop. It's just an overhead that I don't want to. Anyway, so then you look at waged employees and you just look at the style of work that they do. It's not like, how can I juggle this and get these things done? It's, how can I take my time, get this car in, look it over slowly. This is the mentality completely changes.
I went to work. I only worked for a union once in my life. It was a shop at Coburg, Ontario, a place called Horizon Plastics. If there's anybody watching that knows what I'm talking about, things have changed there. Mm-hmm. Don't make as much money as you used to, and I wonder why that is. But I went to work there, and I wanted to get things done. So I started moving, and just, you know, I wanted to keep busy. I wanted to work my shift off, even though I was getting paid hourly. And I remember the foreman came and got me one day. He took me for a walk right to the back of the warehouse where nobody was. And he said, Frank, in a factory, the job is never done. So there's really no point hurrying along. Just go steady and stop trying. Like, you're stepping on toes because you're moving too quick. And I was like, my boss is telling me to stop working. My foreman is telling me to stop producing. So my relationship with them was never going to last long anyway. But it was, I mean, I'll never forget that conversation, because I've never had a boss tell me to not work faster, you know, or at least not celebrate good work.
Oh, that's brutal. That's
And it's not to say that all unions are the same. It's just that attitude permeates a lot of places.
It does. I grew up in Windsor, Detroit, so Motor City, and you hear these stories all the time. Growing up, I heard this all the time, and that's why I got in. I left there, and I wanted to get into a different line of work, and then look at our lives take us in interesting places. Look at where we are, Frank.
Yeah, man. I would have never in my life guessed this is where I would end up, and on all things. I'm thankful. I'm really thankful for it. But being in Saskatchewan, even I think 2 years before I moved, I probably would have said, I don't think so. Maybe Alberta, but not there. But I'm ever happy it worked out this way.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to this. We're turning a 4.5 minute video into hours of entertainment for you guys. We still have more story to get to after.
I keep derailing you. I'm sorry.
No. It's all good. I do the same. This is what Friday's all about. It's so cash. It's about the chat and the interaction and all that stuff. So that's really what we're getting into. So let's continue.
The American politics focus is working. Real Talk Politics is one of the most viewed Canada-based political content channels. And it's not just this account using this strategy. Our friends at Decrypto.
Wait. It's not just Canada. It's not them, just them. It's other people. And this one cracked me up. The Decrypto. How do you say it?
Decrypto.
So the folks at Decrypte, they had some stuff to say about other people doing this.
Found a bunch of other channels doing.
Just at the Conservative Party convention in 2017, I was in the parking lot. Some dude had drawn a bunch of words and drawings in the dust on the back of the Radio Canada CBC car, and so I was laughing at what was on the windshield or on the window. And somebody said, "What are you laughing at?" And I said, "Look at the back of the Radio Canada car." And the Radio Canada person was walking towards the car. And they yell at me. They're like, "Radio Canada." I said, "I thought that's what I said. I said Radio Canada." He's like, "No, Radio Canada." Okay,
man. You have to say it with the accent.
Radio Canada.
That one gets me. That one makes me laugh every time.
So angry.
You gotta say you have to say Radio Canada like that. You can't say croissant. You have to say croissant or whatever. But like, give me a break. If I hear one of those people say McDonald's or whatever, how they say it, like, no, you need to say it with a complete American accent because it's an American thing. McDonald's. I want to hear like McDonald's, but not, you know what I mean? That's what I want to hear, or else I'm not doing the croissant. I'm not doing the Radio Canada. I'm not doing it. Like, it goes both ways, folks. That's
get your Tim Hortons accent or don't talk.
Diane Sylvain with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. The only thing necessary for triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Attributed to Burke or Mills. You two make great shows together, by the way. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Diane.
I'm going off the rails a little bit, but that's fine.
That's a little bit, but it's Friday.
Decrypteur. So we're going to talk about Decrypteur.
Radio Canada on Decrypteur.
Yeah, from Radio Canada. So they did a show. It was like an hour long in French, and I haven't had a chance to review it on this story. So the story there may be some stuff to pull out of that actually as well, because they may have incriminated themselves in that. So yeah, let's get into this.
Very similar stuff. They might be left-leaning or right-leaning.
We just decided to go after the right-leaning one for no reason whatsoever.
Completely unbiased. They picked it at random. Of all there's so much fakery on YouTube, but they had to pick this one. Yeah, it's random. For sure it is.
But they all feature the same kind of style and tone. Some even have the same kind of channel description.
I love this. This is
Yeah.
where we get into let's talk about Miss Spark. the lady for almost 2 decades who understands tech, media, that landscape, who's probably covered. I'm sure she's covered this on her show, and I almost remember hearing it in a stupid car radio when I was doing a test drive of a vehicle at one point, where they talked about, have you ever heard of disclaimers? And tell me in the chat, please. Tell me in the chat if you've heard of doing these disclaimers. They used to be all over Facebook. People would say, this is my disclaimer to Facebook. I legally do not comply with the blah, 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 and you can't use my likeness and you can't use my this or that. And it means absolutely nothing. But it's a tech thing, and it's something that this lady would know about. She know absolutely. And you don't need to put a disclaimer on anything. We used to see YouTube videos with disclaimers at the beginning. Do you recall that?
But if you read this disclaimer, that's the other element. There's nothing in this disclaimer that should concern anybody. It's like it's an explanation of the content, and it's just a disclaimer, but there's nothing really striking about it. Like, have you read it?
Well, I've read it.
It's pretty Nerf ball. Like, it's just Nerf ball stuff.
Super Nerf ball. And we're gonna get into it, but this is not only her trying to incriminate the channel by saying that this channel may possibly be linked up with other channels in a conspiratorial sense, but it also shows that she's denying her tech savviness in this whole thing. And we'll get to that right after this message from our sponsor, who is Gmeister in the chat with a $5 super chat. He says, I'd like to suggest starting a poll to peer pressure Frank to monetize his channel. You know what's going to actually peer pressure Frank is 50% of the super chats from tonight's show I'm giving to Frank.
Oh, come on. You have to do
I'm
that.
doing it. So we're going halfers on this stream. I'm going to give him half of everything you guys donate. So make up for old times. help out a brother.
As to the poll, I did a poll. There was like 360 people chimed in on the comments answering that specific question. There was only 3 people who said no. Everybody else said I should do it. So, I mean, you don't usually get that kind of consensus in life, and I'm still being a pain in the backside. Yeah, I use colloquial terms here occasionally.
Of course. Yeah, okay. Go at her. Demonetize the crap out of this video.
Oh no, I don't want to do that yet.
Oh, where's my thing? How do I let's add a poll. Start a poll.
Well, Wes, buddy, Wes, that's an awesome guy, Wes Sproul. But not every union's the same. So, like, some of the construction unions, some of the trade unions, hardest working people I've ever met. So, like, that's why I said, like, not all unions are the same. I know a guy who Paul, I don't want to say his last name. He lives down in Estevan now, but hardest working man I ever met in my life. I would be scared. It's a good thing he's a friend of mine, because I'd be scared to ever work for him. He'd probably work me under the table. And he's got a lot of bad things to say about his organization, but his crew works really hard in concrete. His whole thing is concrete, and in concrete you can't screw around. So yeah,
no, because
sorry, I just wanted to address that comment. Wes is a longtime viewer and an overall really good guy.
Fair enough. Not enough toys for $20 says I'm in. So Frank, you're getting 10 of that. How are we gonna do it? There was one. Hold on 1 second. How much does YouTube take from super chats? They take 30%. That's it's a standard fee for any company that facilitates a transaction, stuff like that. It's typical. So some people say that's too much. Considering what they do, it's not too much. It really is a tremendous service that they provide to content.
What do they do? Can you tell me what they do? Like, just in terms of the platforming, is there more that I don't know, or do you want to talk about that later sometime?
Oh, we could get into it. Let's do it briefly, because there's more of the story to get into.
Yeah, we're derailing it. You know, we can just I'm sorry.
Well, just first and foremost, they created a platform that does all the advertising stuff for you. You don't even have to worry about it. They get adverts, they get all this stuff. They make sure that they're getting metadata from users so that they get advertised to with adequate advertising, like not BS advertising. You'll get BS advertising probably in the month of like February when there's not a lot of revenue to go around for advertising, stuff like that. But they'll always try to give you the best advertising. So it's on the back end, they do a lot. Believe me, they do a lot, and they do a lot to recommend your stuff to people in a way. If you present your stuff in a very coordinated fashion, and you're not all over the place where they can't figure out what you're doing, they'll be able to give your information or give your videos to an according audience, and they do it better than any other platform. And I think it's fantastic what they do. So 30% is actually, it's not crazy. It's not crazy for them to, especially when other platforms want 30%, they do very little. So yeah, that's a thing. Bavi Foxglove for $50 says, love you both cover. Love what you both cover. Please keep up the great work, and thanks so much. Awesome. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Very generous. Mechanics.
Remember that name too. Mechanics. Yeah, he's an old boy.
For
he's
$50
not an old boy. He's an old boy to me.
He says, well, in that case, let's get this party going. Nice. Awesome. I'm gonna have to get
station wagon in your picture, man. Look at that thing.
Awesome.
My wife would love that car. Like, she would love that car. And I would learn to love it.
I'd teach you to fix it.
Yeah, you would.
Roscoe Pico for $10 says, advance poll, no vote. I did put the poll up. We'll see where it's going. Yeah, the poll's up. The poll's up. It's at 90% yes right now. So we'll see how far that one goes. Thank you, Roscoe Pico. I got G Meister for another 10. I'm in as well. Awesome. Beauty.
This is ridiculous.
Their lawyer percentages, 30%. Neil Murphy. Yeah, 30% seems to be one of those. Rumble doesn't take as much, I think. Yes, and Rumble doesn't do as much either. So that's the thing. I put my stuff on Rumble, and it's just they're out. They don't have algorithm. I heard they have algorithm now, but it's like not good.
When Musk bought X, I decided I was going to return to doing this. I thought I'd like to make X my video platform, and it's so far behind the 8 ball. They do, I think it's 30% on the first 50,000 in revenue, and then it's 10% thereafter. Nobody watches videos there. Like, or if they do, it's much bigger
shorts.
channels.
They watch shorts there.
I'm missing something because videos don't work there, and I keep uploading them, and I swear every time it's going to be the last time, and then I do it again.
It's not until they've got to switch the way the feed works. They need to have like a video feed. So you can go to the Twitter feed, or you can go to the Twitter video feed, and then that'll change everything. And as soon as they go to like how YouTube does it with the main page, and then up next stuff, because that's where most of your views will come from on YouTube, is up next and the browser page. There's nobody uses a sub feed anymore. Hardly any people use the notifications. It is what it is. Defight you for another $10 says me too. So he's in. He's in on that one. Good type
of me too.
A good type of me too. Yeah, you don't want to do the
so much of that was fake. You want to talk about spinning up fake narratives and people pushing stories. So much of that turned out to be completely fake too. Isn't it incredible?
So the thing about Me Too was, I think the thing that would thwart that is more severe punishment for false police reports. I think that should be the thing. And if you if you make a claim on social media, then it should follow up with a police report, or the other party should be able to follow up with a demand for a police report, something along those lines. Does that make sense?
Well, something that puts the emphasis on like it's a difficult road to go down, and it's a discussion that needs to be thought about and had, but something that rewards honesty in content creation and in narration, because there's so much BS out there, and like you can be wrong and I can be wrong. We've both been wrong at times. We can admit that and we can move on. We can course correct. We can change our minds even. And I mean, some people think we should never change our minds. I think that's really, I mean, you have to change your mind, just like you have to evolve with your business. But you know, you're really trying. You know, you're trying to shoot straight, and there should be some way that is rewarded versus people who either deceive through AI or deceive through editing or deceive outright by just telling false stories, like Jizzy Smollett, that whole thing. I mean, that was a whole how many multi-week media cycle, and it turned out to just be fake. Like, there's so much fake stuff, and those people.
Guy went to jail
out there.
Guy actually went to jail over that, though. That's
As he
great.
should have.
That's justice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that was a big deal.
But here's the thing, Frank. I think that's coming to play, and there's a lot of people fighting it across the, like, all the way down the road, because they don't want it. And what would you call it? You call it the Joe Rogan effect. The Joe Rogan effect is this idea of, you know what? I don't care what people think. I'm just going to talk long term, or like long form, and you can tune in. You can like what I'm talking about. If I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong. I can, you know, but I'll pontificate and I'll try ideas and I'll try them out and not worry about what other people are saying. And that is what people want. People want that because what comes with that is a sense of genuineness. You know what I mean? Or is it genuinity? Like, what's the word for that? So
genuosity. Let's go with genuosity.
Okay, genuosity. But yeah, so like when people realize that somebody's genuine, that has real value to it. And then that is the commodity. That becomes the commodity. And so all of this, like, oh, I made a mistake, let me just bury it and like walk away and pretend that it never happened stuff, doesn't work anymore, especially in the realm of the internet. And it's great because we've seen some recent examples of like YouTubers who made an embellished thing and said this and then tried to walk away from it without actually making an apology or without doing that. It doesn't work. People catch on, and you know, some people don't catch on, but that's fine. Whatever, they'll catch on later if they don't get it. But that's the real commodity, and I think that is the way that you monetize that, or you make it the incentive.
Annette says sincerity. Sagana says authenticity in the chat, and like that's it. We need more of that, and that's like, and I'm not trying to toot your horn or whatever, but guys like you, Rod Giltack of the CCFR, Wyatt Claypool, Alex Zoltan, like. What's that? I love Wyatt.
I like Wyatt.
Yeah.
I spent days with Wyatt once, and I was like, okay, I could do Wyatt for a day, maybe a day and a half. 3 days. I'm like, I love Wyatt.
I got
but
a
like,
soft spot for that guy. And I've had a soft spot
Wyatt.
for
He's
him
awesome.
since back when he had like 1,000 followers. I'm like this, and the way people meme him and make fun of him, and the way it just rolls off his shoulders. Like, I think
he doesn't
he's
care at all.
Like, he's young.
Oh, he's
a young man. Yeah. And he actually offered me a place to stay during We Unify, which I thought was really cool.
He hung out with me in Texas.
Oh yeah? Yeah. He went down there with you, didn't he?
Yeah, we hung out for like 3 days, and I took him to a barbecue. And at the barbecue, it was like the point when I finally started getting annoyed. I was like, okay, we're gonna get meat. We're gonna figure out what we want. And he's like, let me show you these statistics. I'm like, dude. But these polls, like, check them out. Like, Wyatt, meat.
He's on all the time.
We
He is
waited
what
3
he is.
hours.
That word, Sagana said, authenticity. Why it's authentic?
He's totally
He's,
authentic. Like,
he is
he's
what
such
he
a
is.
dude. Absolutely. Jeffrey Drake for the $10 donation says, here's my contribution. Amazing. Thank you so very much. Peter from Edmonton with another $50 saying, look at that. Look at that. It's payday. I think I'll pay it forward. Keep on doing what you're doing. The work is much appreciated. Give Frank a taste of what it's like, man, to get paid for what you do. This is what you deserve, man. Like, people love you, dude. People love you.
Well, and I do have supporters. I mean, I don't name them, but there are people out there that do. But I mean, I'm seeing the point.
You said I'm gonna drive it.
You're gonna turn my cheeks red. Stop.
Oh, I'm already doing that for me. It's hot in here. I got the fan on me, and I'm in a stuffy little apartment. Thanks to the current situation. I'm not going to go down another rabbit hole by bringing that up. So let's get back to this. We were on the part where
that
they
thing we were doing. Oh, that documentary. That's right.
Yeah.
We're doing that.
So this is the part where they're trying to deceive you by playing stupid and telling you that they don't know what these words mean, right? And what they're doing is they're trying to paint the picture that these channels, Real Progressive Politics and Real Talk Politics, may somehow be connected and be part of some grand conspiracy to deceive everybody, whether it's left or right. And this is absolutely, they know this to be BS. It's like getting a stupid letter from, I don't know, the Russians. You might just say that's dumb and BS. I'd throw that away, that kind of thing. So in this one, the text, which is just a copy and paste, which you would see everywhere, you would absolutely see this everywhere, is all the credit goes to the respective owners of the video I'm sharing originally the video I'm sharing originally don't belong to me. Am I reading that correctly? Yeah, that's actually how it's written. Wow. And they copy and pasted that, whatever. I'm using them under the fair use copyright clause. If you are a copyright holder and have copyright issues, please contact me and I'll get back to you ASAP. This channel is strictly dependent on the fair use policy. We source credits from everywhere in every video description. Every video provides original commentary, critique, and thoughtful revision. Contributing added and unique value beyond the original source. So this is all just basically kind of like a lame-o disclaimer to say it's copyright, okay? It's copyright. Like, I know it's copywritten, but what we're doing here falls under fair use. We used to see this on YouTube channels all the time that did commentary back in the early 2000s, where they would flash this on the screen at the beginning of the video. Do you recall that era, Frank?
Yep, I do. Just the disclaimer era of social media.
Yeah, so this is where that comes from. So this has nothing to do with any grand conspiracy or people in coordination. It's a copy and paste thing that both channels got from somewhere, where they were probably like, what do I do about copyright to protect myself? And some Reddit thread probably said, put this in your description and you'll be fine. It's
what's interesting,
it's a ward. It's like a magic spell that keeps the lawyers away or something like that.
Well, and there's that extra bit of text that they didn't highlight. They're highlighting the sameness, but we invest hours editing and often include written commentary voiceovers to explain the value and creativity behind each video. So we do a lot of work, a lot of original content creation. That's cool.
That's not cheap fake.
They didn't read that.
Well, they read it. They intentionally did not highlight it. Dave B with another $10 super chat. Thank you so much. I'm in. Go for it, Frank. There you go. Just killing it tonight. So let's get on to this, because this is where they This is where they try to tie it in as if that there's some grand conspiracy. This is craziness.
Have the same kind of channel description. Now, we can't prove the same person runs all of them, but at the very least, they're all chasing the same success.
You know what that's called? There's a name for that. Oh, what is it? What is the word for it? It's shit. I'm drawing a blank now. You know what that's called? It's what it is it's a why am I drawing a blank on the term? It's where where somebody issues you a thing that you have to deny. Like, for example, prove to me that God doesn't exist. It's like, well, I can't disprove a negative.
Right. I know there's a term for it. I can't think of it either.
So what they're doing is they're providing this narrative, or they're feeding you this idea, and then they're telling you, well, we can't prove that that's not the case, but we've given you this idea. Like, what do you mean? Then why are you suggesting it if you can't prove it? There's no evidence to suggest it either. You just said that they used a similar disclaimer. That means nothing. It doesn't mean that they are working together. But
not at all.
But what what they're doing is they're suggesting a narrative. That's called gaslighting, right?
And they're also suggesting a common owner, or a common origin, or a common orchestrator, puppeteer. That's all these and I don't know if they mentioned it just yet, but they're going to get into the Russian part. Did they mention that already?
No.
That's coming. They're gonna hint that Putin's doing all this. Yeah, I mean, how much does anybody know what the GDP of Russia is? The precise figure escapes me, but it's a hell of a lot lower than Canada's, I believe. Even though they have 190 or 100 million people living in Russia right now, the GDP of Russia, and they have. I mean, these people have got to be the most economically efficient managers on the face of the planet. We should just put them in charge of anything. If they can make that kind of money, that kind of GDP stretch to orchestrate all the affairs and internal politics of the entire world's democracies, they should be in charge of everything.
So, were you aware that Canada is the 10th largest economy in the world, while Russia is the 11th?
There you go. So Russia's getting a lot more bang for their buck than Canada is, because we ain't orchestrating anything.
No kidding, because like GDP of Canada is 1.7 trillion, and the GDP of Russia is 1.7 trillion. So like they didn't even, when they round it, they look like we're equals, but they put us at 10th and them at 11th.
And they're a much larger country. They have a lot more people. They're at war. I mean, their economy. I think that figure of 1.7 trillion. I think that's old. Like, I think they're a little higher than that. But it doesn't matter. For them to be running the entire world on such a tight budget, they're miracle workers.
Maybe they aren't running the world, dude.
Maybe. Oh, really? Dare you?
Yeah, and maybe, and just maybe, Canada is only doing so well because of the biggest commodity that Canada has. You know what the biggest commodity that Canada has, right?
Feelings?
Proximity to the United States of America.
Yeah.
It really comes down to that. Like, forget oil, forget gas, forget all of that stuff. Forget about the real estate market, because that one's not going to be a good commodity in about a year's time. Believe me.
That's going to change. Yeah. The engine driving those prices is going to dry up one way or another.
Oh, the wingin. It'll go from the engine to the wingin. Believe me, very fast. Let's keep going.
Well, it's already happening. You just got to follow the sales data.
I don't want to get on that tangent, man. That'll be 2 hours before we get back to this.
Fair enough.
I would be happy to do another stream on that. Absolutely.
Person or people who run Real Talk Politics keep their identity hidden. This is the only public email available.
Well, you're just about to find out why, and why that was a smart move. Thank you. And this is how I got in touch with him, actually,
So we reach out. We want
because I looked up. I just screen grabbed this and I sent him an email. I'm not kidding. And you'll get in. We'll get into this soon. But like, I was like the only one that reached out to him. Insane.
to know why they make these kind of videos. Meanwhile, we found dozens of similar accounts, some of them with millions of views, competing with traditional news. So what does that mean for how you get your information?
Wait, why did you pick them to pick on? Because they were the top. Because he was the
They were
top.
big. They were big.
That's why.
But they take a few minutes, not even a few minutes, they take a few seconds to quickly flash all of these other evil people so that you know that maybe they're on a list somewhere. Like it's
And
subtle.
they all have Joe Rogan in their thumbnails too.
Well, he's the king of the evil, right? He's the worst.
He's the bad guy. He's the big bad guy that didn't want to take the supplement till whatever. I don't know if we can even talk about that.
They're such
These
poor
types of
sport.
accounts
They are poor sports. Now this is where it gets great. So like bring in the expert to tell you just exactly what the motives are in this whole thing. And you saw it last week when I did the live stream. I replayed it and I put the CBC logo over this. so just
Very good way to make a point.
folks that are listening in or you're watching right now, just picture the CBC logo as this expert is explaining how the process works.
these types of accounts are presenting themselves as the way to get informed, and they are embedding partisan perspectives typically within that information delivery. So it's really causing this shift in what information people are receiving, and it's also going to force us to really reconsider what we think of as media literacy. The video
Oh boy, was that a mouthful that just kind of blows up when you just have the turntables turned, right? You know, it's just so amazing when they spell it out to you what they've been doing and that they don't appreciate other people doing what they've been doing. Isn't that the case?
Now, do you think they're actually aware that this is what they're doing? Like, are they self-aware enough to understand that they're making a complaint about their very business practice, or are they are they actually saying this knowing?
Are they that obtuse?
Or do they not know?
Are they that obtuse that they don't
Maybe, and
they
that, I
can't
actually lean-
introspectively see that that's exactly their MO, how they've been doing things?
Well, what does it say? If they're that obtuse that they don't believe that they're doing that, like, how insular are they? How much of an echo chamber, how much of a walled garden do they live in if they believe that they're the ones pursuing unbiased justice in media? That's scary. I would rather they were premeditatedly saying what they're doing, knowing it, rather than not knowing it. The ignorance of their own actions is a far scarier prospect to me. And that's what I think it is.
You think that they're unaware of how
I
badly
think
they're
they
projecting
genuinely
on
believe that
others?
they're virtuous. I believe that they think they're virtuous. Yeah, I do.
You know what? I think you're onto something there, because if you look back in history at like some of the atrocities that have been done, people always felt that they were doing the right thing when they were committing atrocities.
Well,
And
one of the more
that's the
powerful-
insanity of it. That's the really crazy, and that's the mind warp, is like to think that Nazi soldiers thought they were doing the right thing. To think that, the Holodomor, when they were just like shipping people off that were, famine people, the Maoists that were, putting people into shallow graves with a single bullet to the back of the head. They thought they were doing the right thing. Like, this was the right way forward. Like,
in Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, he tells the story of a guy named Wheel. I believe his name was Wheel. I might have that part wrong. but he's holed out at the top of a Manhattan high-rise. Police are all around it, and they're literally shredding that building with automatic gunfire. And he's in the building, and in his dying moments, I believe it was his dying moments or his moments before arrest, he's penning a letter to his sweetheart saying that he's been wronged his entire life and he would never harm a fly. Earlier that day, he shot a cop to death for pulling him over for a traffic infraction. Nobody thinks they're wrong. Nobody.
Yeah.
People justify everything they do to themselves. Even the worst kinds of people feel some kind of justification. There's that channel, EWU, which covers criminals and interrogations. Like, there's all kinds of interrogation channels, but that stuff's really insightful. It's dark. It'll leave a mark on you for days when you start watching it.
Yeah.
But people justify some crazy stuff, man. You know, and so it's not, to me, and that back to the CBC, it's not surprising to me, or it wouldn't be a surprise to me, if they actually feel like they are the noble warriors in this battle, that they're not doing anything wrong.
Yard Prep says, Clyde, these fools are on the side that advocate for transing kids and call it care. They know no bounds. Yeah, they've drinking the Kool-Aid. The Kool-Aid, you know where that term comes from? Drinking the Kool-Aid?
Jimmy Jones.
Yeah, Jim Jones, the Jonestown Massacre, where he convinced all those people. Those
Have
people.
You listen to that audio?
I haven't. No.
There's audio of that moment where he's distributing the Kool-Aid drinks and he's speaking the entire time. There's audio of that. It's real. Came in way before AI. I heard it, and people are just walking up, picking up their glass and drinking, and you can hear it. You can hear it all, and it's like that's the power of group hypnosis. Like, it's a very real thing, and it bridges like into the subject matter in the other video where I talked about the throne and Charles and like all these different narratives that are coming out about Canada being over, and like all people want a story, and that same want of a story is what empowers the Jim Joneses of the world, because they'll give it without any and CBC will give you that story without any real moral compass or sense of balance. It's a failing. Like, I think the way I phrased it was, humans are always falling victim to their own gullibility. And there's a certain percentage of the population is programmed to take advantage of that gullibility. It's almost anthropological. I think there's something.
Those are the psychopaths, though, right? Like, those are the psychopaths in society.
Yeah. And there's enough of them. They often dominate leadership positions.
One more?
Yes, please.
You got a guest?
The wifey's bringing me a present.
I've been trying to get a hold of mine to get some
A
water
refill.
up.
Do you want me to text her? I seem to be doing quite well in that department. I'm joking.
Yeah, I need some water.
If you need to walk off stage and go grab some water, yeah, no problem.
No, I don't want to do that to you. It's just like
Diane Sylvain says, for $10, I believe many, if not all, with CBC are either mentally ill and full of delusional thinking. They lie without any compunction. I'm not familiar with that word. They believe their lies. What's compunction? How do you define that?
It's they lie without any self-reflection, let's say, or without any guilt, without any glancing backwards at the consequences. I don't know. Look it up. I'm sure Webster's does a better job than me. No guilt, says Sagana, which is another way of saying it. Yeah. Cool thing about English is there's a lot of words that mean the same thing, but they all sound super clever.
Well, and the thing about vocabulary is, like, you try to build yours, but like you're not going to know every word. And I'm never the type to try to pretend I know a word that I don't know. You know what I mean? If I don't know a word,
when you're in the flow of a conversation, a word will come to your lips that just feels right in there. And then later on, I've asked myself, why did I use that word there? And I don't even have the answer, but it felt right. Like, it felt there's subtle differences between them. So like they do have their place. I've struggled with this because I'm like, why isn't the English language more simplified? And then I get into a conversation and it's like, what's the difference between fight and struggle? Or, like all these different words, and there is differences, but they're really hard to define.
I always laugh at people that intentionally try to use the big words, but then they use them out of context just because they're just trying to use big words. Especially like people who use what's my favorite one is when people use like penultimate when they mean ultimate, but they want to sound really smart. But that makes them sound not smart because like penultimate is actually the second to last. Like ultimate being last, penultimate. And
Yep.
I think there's based on the Latin, it goes like further and further and further towards like, first, second, third or whatever. But like nobody uses like the third ultimate, whatever the word is for that.
And there's so many meanings to words. I mean, bundles of sticks.
We all know that one.
Yep. I don't want to get you demonetized, so we won't discuss that one in too depth.
Yeah, we were talking about dikes earlier. I'm not talking about the Subaru type. We were talking about a bunch of dirt that's built up so that we stop the water flow from coming over. We're totally derailing again. But compunction means a feeling of guilt or moral scruple that prevents or follows the doing of something bad. So they work without compunction.
So MDeath has just brought up something that's been around since I was in public school, and I want to settle this right now. What does anti-disestablishmentarianism actually mean?
Anti-disestablishmentarianism?
Yeah, what is that? It's a word.
Yes. So anti-establishmentarianism is the idea. Yeah.
I'm going to take the lead on this one.
Disestablishmentarianism. So they're against it's a person who's against dismantling the establishment of a society.
Oh, let's try this. Oh, never mind. Nope, we're not doing that. Okay, not right now.
We're not doing it. Okay.
Nope.
So just based on the root of the word, it tells me that it's somebody who is against the idea of dismantling what is the establishment.
I'm reading opposition to the disestablishment of the Church of England. I never realized that you lean towards anti-disestablishmentarianism. That's what I got out of Google.
Okay, so it's a specific time of an establishment?
Against the Church of England. Some association. Okay. Yep.
So, but that worked. So, like against the dismantling of an establishment
is a position that advocates that a state church, the established church, should continue to receive government patronage.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. But the term itself could go beyond just that one instance, right?
We should resurrect it, Clyde. That should be our mission. Let's work that into our work.
Well, who would be anti-disestablishmentarianists? That would be the Liberal and the Conservative, the Canadian government.
Yeah,
they're status quo people. Like anyone who wants the status quo is an anti-disestablishmentarianism in a time where the general populace wants change.
So we're under an anti-disestablishmentarianist regime today.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Wow, full circle.
And guess what? They own the media and they've been preaching to us, and that's what we're talking about today. So let's get back to that so we can get actually into the emails and the things that took place afterwards.
Videos are partisan, but that's not the whole story. Some of them are misleading, just like the cheap fakes from before. Take this one.
I recently asked my friend's little girl what she wanted to be when she grows up.
First off, like the CBC is never misleading. Okay, fair enough. But they did it with AI, so this is the crux.
She said she wanted to be the president of the United States.
That's AI. The story itself seems to have originated as a chain email joke in the mid-2000s. And there's no record of Reagan making that speech. Now, realistic looking AI videos are supposed to be labeled on YouTube. We asked YouTube about their Reagan video and their approach to content farms. The next day, the channel was gone, taken down because of YouTube's spam, deceptive practices, and scams policies.
Okay, so did they? Is that all they did? Oh, we just contacted YouTube, and then it disappeared. We just said, hey YouTube, we're just wondering what your policy is on this. Is that all the correspondence that took place?
Doesn't make sense with the original title they had on the video, where they were very proud of their accomplishment.
Very proud. So, and that's the thing. Oh, where can I find that? I had that image up on the screen earlier. I gotta go through my timeline to find that. But their original, because right now it's called YouTube shuts down Real Talk Politics after inquiries. Right? What was the original title? Do you recall? I'm gonna find it. Pull it up. The original title, which is way into my history now at this point. Okay, I got it. The original title was right here. Oh, you got your water?
I got my water.
Okay. So how we shut down one of Canada's biggest news content farms. Shameless. How we did that.
Yep.
This is what we did.
Feather in their hat. Proud of it.
Feather in their cap. So stoked that that's something that they did. Now, down in the description, which apparently I love this. CBC Radio is a Canadian public broadcast service. That needs to be
read state media.
Correction. Oh, I gotta switch scenes. Correction in their title or in their description. An earlier version of this video was incorrectly stated that CBC News had shut down Real Talk Politics YouTube channel. In fact, YouTube shut down the channel for violating its policies following inquiries from the CBC News. But that's not what the video tells.
Ironically,
the video tells that they shut it down.
That's their attempt at a disclaimer to mitigate liability that they might incur.
Mm-hmm.
They need to highlight that in their next video.
Oh, they definitely need to highlight that. Now, I did a short just yesterday on this. So you can check that out on the channel. Oops. Let me go back, click on this. So I did a short, and this was my short on this. And of course, it's silent, so I'm going to turn that back up and hit replay. This is a video that recently got a YouTuber banned from the platform.
I recently asked my friend's little girl what she wanted to be when she grows up.
As former President Ronald Reagan, AI was used to make him say something that is largely attributed to him having said. That's against terms of service on YouTube. Here's something he actually did say.
How do we call a liberal? You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism. And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation. Well, isn't this the liberal philosophy? The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government. Get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
This is so I had to throw that dig in because I wanted to show that the Reagan actually did espouse a lot of these things. So yeah, the situation with the Reagan video, their biggest gripe was that it was made by AI and that it wasn't labeled AI, right? That is apparently against terms of service. But now when I got in touch with Real Talk Politics, he said that other channels had the same video up on their channels. And what did YouTube do? They automatically went in and just put a little thing at the bottom saying that this is AI. So this can't be what got the channel banned. There's no way.
It's unique treatment, because even if they did violate YouTube's terms of service, a community strike is warranted, a little blue warning label is warranted, not the nuking of the channel on a first offense. Like
what's really crazy about this story is when talking to Real Talk Politics, he said that his channel got banned and he wakes up, realizes that the channel had been banned at like 5 a.m. or something, and then gets an email from CBC saying, we noticed we were informed that your channel had been banned. Like, this is not public knowledge. This is not something that people would know. And why would they know so quickly if they weren't?
Communication.
So there was communication happening there. They were being informed that that channel had been banned. Why would they be informed if they were just inquiring? If I inquired about a channel and then it turns out that it got banned, would I get a follow-up email? Right? I mean,
you might get a form letter if you're lucky.
No, you won't get F all, dude.
I don't know how YouTube does it.
You'll get sweet FA if you make a request with YouTube. I've made requests with all the sex bots that are in my chat every freaking video.
Yep.
And I want to follow up. I'm looking for follow-ups. I'm contacting them. I'm saying, these are sex bots. Tell me that they're going to be gone. And do I ever get a follow-up when those things get banned? No. Why is CBC getting a follow-up when this guy gets banned? And in a very weird way. So he got banned unlike anyone else. Anyone else that I've seen that have gotten banned really like hastily, it always comes with 3 emails. It's, we found a video that broke our terms of service, you've got to strike. We found a video that broke our terms of service, you got to strike. Found a video that broke our terms of service, and that's a 3rd strike. Now your channel's banned. None of this occurred for him. The channel was simply deleted. It was just gone. That's something else. Now listen to what CBC said. What's that?
Sorry. No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
So listen to what CBC says was the justification for why it got banned. This is the interesting thing.
The next day, the channel was gone, taken down because of YouTube's spam, deceptive practices, and scams policy.
So YouTube spam, deceptive service or deceptive practices, and spam or whatever, misleading policy. Now go over this. Content that is excessively posted, repetitive, or untargeted, and does one or more of the following things. So it can't fall under that category. Excessively posted, repetitive, and untargeted. That is not the criteria. That is the presupposition of the next criteria. Following? So those things, and promises viewers that they'll see something, but instead directs them off site. Gets clicks, views, or traffic off YouTube by promising viewers that they'll make money fast. Sends audiences to sites that spread harmful software and try to gather personal info or other sites that have negative impact. None of these videos did that. So he was banned because of video spam. It doesn't fall into that criteria. It's unjustified. Sorry, I need to catch up on some of these because they're gonna pile up.
Well, it just further to your point, it doesn't, like, we're focused on CBC here, but it also shows that YouTube is very subjective in the application of the rules. They can just come down and nuke you without even a real explanation as to why. And I think the only reason we enjoy a level of free speech right now is because of the proximity to X. If X didn't exist, we would still be in the doldrums.
Oh yeah. And this gets into like the Twitter files, because the Twitter files were pretty something else, right? When we learned from Matt Taibbi and all these other journalists that were working on the Twitter files that there were direct lines of communication with these with government entities and with these platforms. And Twitter was one of them, but it was alluded to that that's not the only way that not the only platform that has these same direct lines of communication, i.e. Facebook, Google services, all of Google services, including YouTube, a number of these other platforms. Let's get into some of these chats. RC Lamoureux for 2 says politicians and bureaucrats are all going to jail soon. Well, tell me when that's happening, and I'll come break a bottle of wine on the side of a boat or whatever we need to do. I'll enjoy the christening of that as it happens. But
I'm hearing that for a long time.
Yeah, right. Jackass Whiskey and Pinto Beans for 20. Thank you so much. Yeah, you love the name, right? Anti-establishmentarianism is a word describing a political party in England. Duke Ellington coined anti-establishmentarianism to get the long word. Duke Ellington also did a cover of Greg's Arse's Death. Okay, I don't know that.
Wow. That we should be paying you for that one.
Yeah. Duke Ellington got his name in the Duke Ellington got his name in the history book over that. Great. So you got the long word. Church of Hertz. That's another name. I just love that one. Church of Hertz with $2 says introducing CBC Canada's anti-Marx headroom. Evan.
Anti-Max headroom.
Max. I just see. I'm thinking.
Do you know who
Karl
Max
Marx
Headroom is?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Wasn't he the same guy who did? I think he was like one of the A-Team actors, wasn't he?
No way. Really?
I thought he was. He's a famous actor. He's been in like a lot of like courtroom drama movies and series since. Anyway, but yeah, that was his
Church
slice of
Hertz.
history. Studio 778 for $13.99 says mustached dictator, big lies snare the masses, propaganda chief, repeat it, truth rots, lies weave a warped reality, blinding souls to deception's merciless chokehold. CBC is the messenger.
The difficulty is a lie is a very simple thing. You just repeat it, and dispelling a lie takes a lot of words. So if you look at words as sorcery, the truth, the spells are so complicated. It's so hard to beat lies, like even about yourself. The things that people say about you or the things that people say about me. I've explained myself on a number of things a number of times, but it takes time. It takes minutes to repudiate one tweet. So
This is why we have laws against slander. This is why we have means for people to be remunerated after such a thing. And this is what this is. This is slander that got a creator taken off of the platform. Let's get back to this.
The creator told us they didn't know the Reagan video was AI and say they're definitely not a content farm because, quote, every video involves original scripting, research, editing, and visual sequencing. And they believe YouTube's takedown is wrong and, quote, harmful to creators who act in good faith to broaden political discourse.
It is harmful to creators who engage in good faith to broaden. And why would you leave out all that other stuff? I don't understand when they do that. But what, to broaden political discourse? We should broaden political discourse. Oh, damn! Oh, snap! Snap!
This is a cheap fake.
Snap! Oh, in your face, CBC. That, by definition of a cheap fake, is a cheap fake. You've taken it out of context to what was the original context, CBC. You've zoomed in so we can't even see the rest of the words. That's a cheap fake.
That is true. Yeah, they did. We can't even read it if we wanted to.
Yes.
In its entirety. Mm-hmm.
That follows the definition of a cheap fake.
Nice going, CBC.
Boom, wow. Frank, you nailed that. Yeah. You nailed that. Holy cow.
They set it up, man.
Wow.
Look at that. It's right
Deceptive.
there.
Very deceptive practices right there.
Do you have a content farm you think we should look into? Left-leaning, right-leaning, or somewhere in between? Email us, ask@cbc.ca.
Are you a rat? Email the CBC.
You know, that's a
You a rat?
that's
Are you a rat bastard? We got
are
you.
you a rat?
All kinds of public money.
That's a promise that never gets fulfilled. You know, it's one of those like, we got to put this out there. We got to end it with that, because like they're gonna see us for what we are.
Well, it's a form of engagement farming too. Send us a bunch of emails. Keep the audience engaged. So they're kind of playing for it too, just in a different way.
Engagement farming. Wow. Diane Sylvain for 5 says, Mark Twain once said, a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes.
I believe he also said that if you tell the truth, you never have to remember anything. And that's always stuck with me, because I would absolutely hate to try and track false narratives, because I couldn't do it. I don't have the headspace for that. I can get things wrong, but I don't lie to people. I just don't lie to people.
So I have this philosophy, right? And it comes from what I do for a living, where there's a lot that can go wrong, and I could cause a lot of damage and everything, right? There's a lot of damage, and I could play it off like it's not my fault. And not a lot of people understand exactly what I do and all of the intricacies of it. And we all heard of like all the cases where mechanics have taken advantage of people because they don't understand. And that's why you take it to a mechanic, because we have the expertise. But I've always had this philosophy, right? Where, you know, people will only trust me as far as I give them trust in the first place. So when I'm working on something and something breaks, I'll just go to the front desk and I'll be like, yeah, I was working on this thing and it broke, you know? Or I'll go to the front desk and I'll be like, yeah, I was working on this thing and I screwed up. The radiator fell and hit a thing on the corner and it punctured a brand new radiator, you know, or whatever, right? These kinds of things. You come forward with the truth because one day you're going to be working on something and something's going to mess up, but it won't be your fault. And it'll be expensive. But all the arrows are going to point at you and you're going to look at faults and they're going to be like mad at you. But that one day when you're like, that wasn't me, man. It really legitimately, that was just, it happened, right? That's the day that trust will all pay itself off. All of those moments where you just came clean and all of that stuff, it really pays off, because if you're that guy who just can't admit anything, like, oh, I was tightening it, I over tightened it and it stripped the threads out, sorry, you know, these kinds of things, you can't admit that, then that one thing that everything's pointing at you, nobody's going to believe you. No one's going to have your back. Yeah. And that's what matters the most. So I treat everything like that.
You have to, it's a weird thing, because it's a bank account that you're always making deposits to. And when you do need to make a withdrawal, you're going to be pulling it all out at once.
Yeah, pretty much.
You got into it. Yeah.
It's insurance. That's insurance. Yeah. That's how that works. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that. So where do we go from here? We go into the story of where this went. So after this published and this was aired, I right after the stream, I posted this on. Oh well, this was later, so this was the next day, because you published this on Monday. You got into it, and real talk politics. I reached out to him, and he got back to me, and he said, "Listen, I made a thread on Twitter. Can you retweet it?" And I said, absolutely. So I retweeted it saying, this is absolutely wild. CBC convinced YouTube to delete a channel just because it happened to be getting more traffic than them, and they opposed their viewpoints. No warnings, wasn't told they were breaking any rules, just erased. Insane. And this was his thread. So he said, CBC, Canada's state-funded media, just got YouTube to terminate my channel, not for breaking the rules, but for having the wrong political views. CBC couldn't compete with the content, so they tried to erase it. This is censorship in Canada. I didn't break any rules, no strikes, no deception, just political commentary. And yet, YouTube terminated the entire channel.
Break any rules, no
strikes. What am I hearing? I think I was hearing myself back there. YouTube terminated the channel, the entire channel, shortly after CBC reached out with a hit piece, some hit piece questions. Here's what's wild. I was pulling more views than CBC, which really bothered them. They clearly don't understand how YouTube works with most of the audience outside of Canada. But CBC, desperate for relevance, couldn't stand that. So what did they do? They contacted YouTube, and not long after, the YouTube channel vanished. No real explanation, no public process, just gone, like it never existed. CBC and YouTube clearly don't understand how the internet works. They think they can silence people with opposing views, but all they've done is expose their own fear and their willingness to crush speech they don't like. When state media and big tech team up to silence a creator because of political ideology, it's not just censorship, it's tyranny with a smile. And then tagged a bunch of other people into that. Now, a lot of people started replying to this post. And yeah, for good reason. For good reason. Because it's just insane. Sorry, I'm hearing myself back a little bit from you, Frank.
Are you?
Yeah.
My apologies. Better?
Might be. Oh, well, we'll see. So getting into this, I got to get into some of the other things. So what this prompted me to do was write a letter to the ombudsman. So I thought this is a perfect opportunity to exercise what is supposed to be the fail-safe for CBC, right? They have the ombudsman. This has worked in the past where, I don't know if you remember back CBC, they posted, they had, Mendocino on their show once during the convoy. And the CBC anchor suggested that the Freedom Convoy was brought to us by the Russian government. And people reached out to the ombudsman and said, this is absolutely atrocious that you would suggest this. And they made an on-air apology. That was the thing. So I thought, okay, well, here's what we'll do. We'll reach out to the ombudsman. And so I wrote this. Let me share this one. Put this on the screen. So this is what I wrote. My letter to the ombudsman. CBC recently posted on YouTube a video titled, How We Shut Down One of Canada's Biggest News Content Farms. In the video, CBC journalists took issue with a YouTube channel that had been doing quite well on the platform, producing compilations of popular content creators and public figures' talking points with added commentary read by a computer-generated voice, speech to text. So this is where I actually got it wrong. That was the guy's voice. It was not computer-generated at all. The journalists went out of their way. No, it doesn't.
It only adds fuel to the fire.
It only makes it worse for CBC. The journalists went out of their way and filed complaint with YouTube under the official CBC name, causing YouTube to take action and delete the channel. This video title reflects this. So this is the crux of it. That's the video title. It reflects what they did in their commentary, in their whole thing. What's this? Denny Ringas for $6.99 giving a super sticker. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. That's awesome. After the backlash from citizens and taxpayers concerned about the CBC stepping out of their purview, reporting and entering the realm of policing content, CBC changed the title of the video. The video is currently titled, YouTube Shuts Down Real Talk Politics After CBC News Inquiries, walking back the ownership of having the channel taken down. The owner has been speaking on the X platform about how they were not given any warnings, they have not broken any rules, and were not ever disciplined for the content produced prior to CBC's correspondence with YouTube. It is outside of the CBC's mandate to be policing, reporting, or using its influence to pressure YouTube or any other agency on what can be published on their private platforms. YouTube has been known to comply with government agencies when being asked to remove content or content creators, as the Twitter files has made the public aware of. Inquiring minds want to know what actually was discussed between CBC employees and YouTube. The public is requesting that communications between CBC employees and YouTube concerning the matter be made public. CBC should be making a public apology, and CBC should use its influence with YouTube to undo the damage caused here. As a Canadian content creator, I find it appalling that Canadian Broadcast Corporation used its influence to shut down a private citizen from conducting business in a lawful manner for what seems like nothing more than a difference of political opinion. Now, I want to get your 2 cents on that before we move to the next bit.
I think it's really well worded, and it's appropriate. Now, I'm wondering if you're ever going to get a response. I mean, you should. When you write the ombudsman, you should get something. I think you will get something eventually. Oh, you did? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that yet. So I've been did you post that today?
No. I posted it yesterday.
Okay, I haven't seen it. I don't know how I missed that, but let's get into that then. But I think it's it is really chilling, because imagine you wake up tomorrow morning and your YouTube channel's gone. Clyde Do Something is no more on YouTube, or Frank Vaughn is no more on YouTube, and that's how quick it can happen. It'd be kind of devastating, because it takes a long time to get here. It's not like anybody handed it to you. It's not like anybody handed me what I have there. We built this. We built it organically. And you lose your community. And for me, they're not just names on the screen. Like, a lot of these people I've known for a long time. And if YouTube nuked them, the only other vehicle for them to communicate is through my YouTube channel or my website, or via email, which isn't anywhere near as efficient.
Or X.
It would be devastating.
Yeah, it's absolutely devastating. So let's get into some of the responses here. So I said to other people, I said I would encourage more people to write the ombudsman about this story. Use my letter as a template if you like. Contact here. And other people have been doing that, and other people have gotten the generic reply that comes in, right? So I received this reply at 9 a.m. on the 29th. Dear Clyde Nichols, which is my full name, and I'm not shy about putting my full name out there. It's out there. I write to acknowledge receipt of your email. I have shared it directly with Brody Fenlon, director, manager, or general manager and editor-in-chief of CBC News, along with the request that your concerns be addressed. Programmers are asked to try to reply within 20 working days. Sincerely, Maxime Bertrand, CBC Ombudsman. So the Ombudsman got back to me and said they've put this forward. Now, then I got this email from Bassem Bashra. He's the Senior Director of Journalistic Standards and Public Trust at CBC News. And this was his email. I'm assuming that's a his. I don't know. I could get in trouble for that. He says, Dear Clyde Nichols, thank you for your email and to the CBC Ombud, which CBC News General Manager and Editor-in-Chief Brody Fenlon has asked me, Senior Director of Journalistic Standards and Public Trust, to reply. So this is the person who's in charge of that thing that we just talked about. That you don't screw up. It's the when you screw up, you own up to it, or else that one day nobody's going to trust you if you don't own up to it, right? This is that bank account that people make deposits in, and you only ever pull it out once. this is the guy that runs that, right? The senior director of journalistic standards for the CBC. Your email concerned a video posted by the CBC News YouTube channel and website about Real Talk Politics YouTube channel, more particularly about what you see as the CBC's effort to take down the channel and to take credit for it. Thank you for reaching out to us about this matter, and I welcome the opportunity to respond to your complaint. As the video itself accurately reports, the CBC was indeed reporting about Real Talk Politics YouTube channel, which, as the digital version of the story says, was the most popular Canada-based news and politics channel during much of the 2025 federal election. Following inquiries made by CBC News to YouTube as part of its reporting, it was YouTube itself that decided to take down the site for violating YouTube's term of service. The CBC did not request that the channel be taken down. It simply reported on the site, including the fact that it was taken down by YouTube and who was behind the channel. However, I can confirm that CBC did erroneously use a headline in an earlier version of the YouTube video that did CBC News, we, in quotes, took down the YouTube channel in question, which was both inaccurate and not what the video itself reported. As a result, the headline did not live up to the journalistic standard and practices that govern all CBC News journalism. To correct the record, we have included prominent correction note in the description field of our YouTube, YouTube video.
Prominent. I'm sorry, but nobody even clicks on the description unless you have something you're specifically looking for. No one goes there, so it's just kind of funny. Prominent.
For further transparency, we have posted a correction note on our online corrections and clarifications where we address significant corrections. You can see that correction here. Thank you again for taking the time to express your concerns about our work. Sincerely, Bassam Bashra. Now, what he sent me to was a link here, which is corrections and clarifications. How often do you find yourself on this page?
I didn't know it existed, so here we are.
I'm
learning something.
So on May 29, 2025, a previous version of this video originally posted for the CBC News channel, CBC Edmonton website, blah, 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 stated that, they keep going on and on and on and on. And you can find the correction that you're looking for.
Scroll down a little bit. Let's see.
Oh, May 28th, May 26th, May 23rd, May 15th, May 15th, May 14th, May 13th, May 8th, May, this is how many corrections they have to make. That's a lot of fuck ups, dude. I'm sorry for the French there on that one, but that is a lot of fuck ups.
Yeah. May has been a bad month for them.
March is a bad month. February and it goes on and on and on and on. So this is the dead hole in the internet that they post their corrections, and they expect that to be
internet. That's a great way to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what they expect to be justification or whatever. And then they link to their journalistic standards and whatever, which gives you a prompt of like introduction and all this. We know what your journalistic standards are. Just read your BS, right? Just read that BS. Now let's get into this because I freaking lost myself. Where was I? I was on this. So I'm sure there's enough to pick apart on this one. But so I replied, and I still have yet to get a reply back after this one. So I replied to him and I said, with all due respect, Director Bashra, after the admitted lapse in journalistic standards when reporting on this story, it is not in the public's interest to simply take your word for it that CBC employees did not use their influence to pressure YouTube to take action against the content creator Real Talk Politics. The original headline suggests precisely that. So for further clarification and transparency, the public is demanding that to see any communications conducted by CBC employees with YouTube in reference to this story. Thank you for your time, Clyde Nichols.
Could you do an FOIA on that, like a Freedom of Information Act request? Is CBC subject to that?
So we're looking into this. Like I'm looking as much into this as I possibly can, and I'm reaching out. I'm reaching out to everybody that I possibly can reach out to. So this is where it gets hairy. So they're not a government bureaucracy, so you can't do a FOIA request to say, give me those emails. But where I think it's possible is to say, sue them, and in discovery, demand those emails be presented to the courts. And this is the crux of it, because this is the Twitter files that we've all been waiting for, but on the YouTube side of things. This is a government agency advocating and pushing for the removal of a YouTube channel that they don't like because of political opinions. And this my guesstimate is that they've moved in the direction of the mafioso, right? Hey, that's a real nice looking business and building you've got there. It'd be a real shame if it caught fire. Did you know we're taking donations and we don't like these things in the neighborhood? So I'd just like to tell you about this. You know, the mafioso sort of vagueness of asking questions. And that's what I would be looking for in these emails in communication with YouTube, is essentially a quid pro quo.
So you kind of have to hope that the owner of the subject channel is going to take action.
This is where things may go in that direction, right?
So
if he should,
if he can fund it,
he should, if he can do it and if he can make it happen. But so what did I do next? I was like, who can I get in touch with? So I got in touch with some of the lawyers that I know. Hey, is this something you'd recommend? What do you like? What do you think? Advice? What would you say? I don't know. I'm involved in this case. I got this case. And then I thought, who's the most litigious person that I know that's happy to just take on the government?
Ezra
Levant.
I didn't even know that was it, but
that was my thought. So who do I call? I call up Drea Humphreys, because I'm friends with Drea, and I'm like, hey Drea, I know you're busy, you got all kinds of stuff going on, but this is a story, and this is a story for Rebel. They need to take this on, and I want you to send this up the chain. I want you to send this right to Ezra if you can. I don't have contact with Ezra, right? And I said, get on this, get Ezra Levant on this story, because this is a big one, because of all the reasons we've just discussed. It's big. And I think that if we can find a way to sue them into exposing what they communicated with YouTube, it opens up Pandora's box. I think this is very,
it might be one of the best
and
ones.
What are they doing right now? They're probably destroying the emails. But that's evidence at this point. If they're destroying evidence, then we can always just immediately assume that they've committed something awful, right? So in this case, CBC has made themselves the story. They are the story, because they're the culprit here. It's not the story about click farms or content farms or this or that. It's a story of a giant funded, well-funded government entity that is taking advantage of their situation and use their political bias to take out a little guy who just so happened to be doing way the hell better than them and beating them in the algorithm and beating them on YouTube getting more views, getting more traffic. And they didn't like that. So they decided to take him out. So what does Ezra do? He gets wind of the story, gets in touch with the guy, and does an interview with him. Let me pull that one up, because this is where things progress, and it's awesome. So I post this one out there. This was just this afternoon. Check out this interview with Ezra Levant did with Real Talk Politics about how the CBC used their taxpayer-funded and government authority to influence YouTube to take down his channel. Ezra Levant, as a seasoned lawyer, he recognized right away that CBC has committed a tort, and that's the legal lease against this creator, and should be able to hold them accountable in the court of law. Video link in the reply to below. So this is how it's laid out. Now we can pop this up. I'm not gonna play the whole thing, because if it took us 2 hours to get through a 4-minute video,
we can make an agreement not to talk about anything. No commentary, just watch.
No, we can't do that, because then that's
copyright violation. Man,
yeah,
we're
and
really
replacing their
rock
work.
in a hard place.
Rock and a hard place. But I'm gonna get to the point where he starts talking about the AI thing. And this is really funny. So Ezra points out that the guy who's in charge of AI got duped by AI himself, and ended up reposting the retard bus. Do you remember that meme that went around?
Yes.
that's the AI czar that Mark Carney picked out. He was the one who retweeted the retard bus. Ezra gets into that partway through the interview. Now, when you hear him speaking, the guy who runs Real Talk Politics, they have the voice disguised, and he's, for obviously reasons, right? He doesn't want to lose his job. We've all seen it. People lose their jobs, all this stuff when the left goes after them. So I'll just play it from here, is sort of in the middle. Yeah, play it here.
Without an AI label. So yeah, that's what happens. I mean, these things happen. I know our new minister of AI, his name is Evan Solomon. He literally retweeted a doctored picture of a campaign bus that I think had the word retard on it. I'm sorry to say it. I think that's the word. Yeah, people can read things online that someone else made. The CBC is lying when they say, oh, we're just curious what your policies are. I've seen this a million times when journalists call up a platform and say, do you have something to say about someone breaking your rules? They're really saying, take it down or we're going to attack the platform itself. It's a kind of bullying. It's kind of mob mentality. They couldn't find anything you were doing that was wrong. Nothing you were doing that was outside the norm. They found some Reagan joke. And that's how they got you taken down, looks like. Is that what it was, or was there something else?
That was exactly it. I want to make a few points here. So for one, kind of addressing that issue about the AI, YouTube's own policy says that when the creator doesn't label it, YouTube has mechanisms in place to label it. And if it's just a one-case scenario, they'll just label it, and it doesn't even warrant a strike or warning. You're on YouTube, you know how they operate. And if you do it repeatedly without labeling it as AI, that's when they start taking some action. So this was the first video, the only video out of 300 that had AI generated. That's the one thing. Second thing, I saw that video on at least 10 different channels. 10 different channels, none had it labeled, because usually they have to label it. And then I went back, they took my channel down, but what happened to those channels? YouTube just auto-label it as AI. So why didn't they do that to me?
The CBC doesn't say they complain about any other channels. They say they saw it on other channels, but they didn't complain about those other channels. It's clear it was a bad faith complaint against you. Let me ask you this. Have you appealed this? Have you objected to YouTube? It's so clear to me what happened. They were threatened by CBC. CBC is even trying to doctor their own article. That's unethical. They're hiding what they did. They're changing words in their article to hide the fact that they took down a conservative site. YouTube was obviously pressured. YouTube doesn't know you. You're not a big guy. You're not a big company. You're just an ordinary guy. So they thought, well, path of least resistance is do what the state broadcaster says. Stay in good graces with the government. Have
That's
you
right.
tried to appeal this? Have you tried to talk to YouTube and say, look, it was an honest mistake about a Reagan joke. There's nothing malicious about it. A lot of other sites have it. Happy to take that down. Let me continue with my business. Have you had any discussions with YouTube?
I have, but sadly, no action was taken from them. It felt like I was just talking to a robot the entire time. And the only time when I spoke to a real person was when I posted on Twitter. The tweet started getting some traction, and they actually reached out to me. They were like, hey, give us a sec. We're actually going to review it. But then they just waited a couple of days until it died out a little bit, and then just told me, hey, we're going to uphold our decision. You violated our terms of service.
This, by the way, is why we can't let it die out a little bit. We just keep harping on this one because this is a big story, and we just need more people talking about it, right?
Which again, just in case it wasn't clear before, didn't do 300 videos, verified channel, 320,000 subscribers. So YouTube partner as well, which YouTube, if they make you a YouTube partner, it's because they're aware that you're not breaking any of their rules.
That's right.
So it was clearly just CBC reaching out to someone, because I don't even think CBC, something else that I didn't mention, I woke up, I saw my channel had been terminated, I was freaking out, and then I wake up and I get an email from CBC. Hey, we were doing a story, now they changed the tone, we were doing a story about your channel, about content farms, and we have gotten confirmation from YouTube that it was taken down because it violated our spam policies. Information that was not publicly available. If you go right now and report a channel on YouTube, YouTube is not going to reach out to you and tell you, hey, we took it down because of this, especially if they were claiming that they told YouTube, hey, this AI video had an issue. That's a different policy that was allegedly violated by me. So,
and the fact that they knew more about your own business than you did, they had information you didn't have, shows so obviously that they were the malefactors here. And this is the definition of a bad faith article. I think that they've gone too far here. I think they are morally wrong. I think they've violated their own ethics code. I think they have misled their viewers. I think they have pretended this was journalism. In fact, it was Liberal Party activism. But I think they've done one more thing. I think they've induced a breach of contract between you and YouTube. I think they have intentionally interfered with your economic relations. Those phrases I've just used are legal terms. I think that the CBC has committed what's called a tort against you, a legal wrong. And I think that YouTube has as well. And I don't know if you have any interest in the subject, but I'd be interested in discussing with you offline if you have any interest in taking a legal remedy here, because I think what we have just seen is bullying, the sorts I thought YouTube had left behind once Donald Trump became president. Donald Trump became president. All of a sudden, the social media companies had started to talk about freedom again and relaxing censorship, and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and Rumble, and there was this move towards freedom. I feel like the way you were bullied by the thugs at the government broadcaster is a flashback to the bad old days. And I think they're only doing it to you, Mr. X, because you're a regular Joe. And I'm guessing you don't have a lawyer, and I'm guessing you're not in a position to fight. I mean, I don't have all the facts of your case. I've only been talking to you for 10 minutes, but I think you were legally wronged. I think a malicious competitor, obviously jealous, ideologically opposed, approached you in bad faith, lied to you about what they were up to, approached YouTube in bad faith. They tried to scare and shake down YouTube, and they succeeded. And I think that you were wronged by both parties. That's my view.
Listen to Ezra build that case on the fly.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And this is why I was like, oh man, I got to get this right to Ezra, because I mean, he's again, what did I say earlier? I said, who do you think is the most litigious person in this realm? And you said it. You're like, Ezra? Yeah, Ezra.
He's
Ezra
a brilliant legal mind.
Absolutely.
You can gauge the strength of his words. So like when he speaks very firmly about something, he speaks in very strong terms, and it's almost a dare. It's like, go ahead and sue me for damages, sue me for defamation. Like he's almost untouchable by the legal regime because he's so shrewd legally. So
well,
you can there's a lot of people who don't like him, but I think if you would be smart, even if you don't like him, to take him very seriously.
You don't have to like him to respect him.
That's right. And I think a lot of people should respect him, even if they don't like him.
Yeah. And then that's the thing. So who has this kind of experience of taking on the government in situations like this? And then he also has what's the name of the outfit? It's a charity. It's a charity for this kind of thing. What is it?
Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, or
the Democracy Fund. So
Democracy Fund.
I think it's I don't know if it's Ezra's or if it's Rebel News's. I don't know who the ownership is. Don't quote me on the ownership, but it's somehow affiliated with the people around Rebel News. But the Democracy Fund, they do fundraisers to take on cases like this. This is what they do. And this is the kind of case where, of course, if they think that this could go somewhere, and wow, okay, you've got that case where we could pull out and through discovery get this evidence that would be damning for the CBC. Even if they don't win that case, just the discovery alone is worth it, because the public
could open other doors,
right?
Yeah.
And this is, I recognized it immediately. I was like, holy crap, those emails are what we need, because they talked about talking to the CBC. And then immediately, as soon as the scrutiny came, it's not, oh, no, we didn't do it. We didn't do it, even though they were bragging about it. In the video, they're bragging about it. In the title, they're bragging about it. In the inference of what they said to YouTube was kind of a nudge. We told on them and we got that channel deleted. What verbiage was used? What is the communications between YouTube and employees of the freaking federal government? And let's not mince words. They are employees of the federal government, whether it's a crown corporation or whatever the hell you want to call it. It is our right as taxpayers to know what they did on our behalf, because it is on our behalf if they're doing it with our money. I want to know what happened.
Yeah. And I think even if they are covering their tracks, deleting communications on their side of the equation, I would bet YouTube still has all those communications. So, I mean, I don't even think they would be smart to. I think they'd be stupid to try and cover their tracks, because YouTube's not going to do that. So it's
because in discovery, the YouTube would be subpoenaed,
and they would keep that record. They would keep that record, I believe, anyway. I think they've displayed that in the past. They're not they don't cover things up. They're too big. They don't have to, right? They don't have to. They can do things that way. But yeah, it's going to have to get litigious. I hope there's because that's the only vehicle that's going to make any headway is litigation. Otherwise, they're just going to wait for it to go away.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, is they want it to go away. And I personally believe that there's a case here to, and I think there's enough incentive for enough parties in this one to make it worthwhile for everybody to keep rolling with this case and to not stop. You know what I mean? To keep that ball going.
Well, I mean, there's been lots of precedents set in the past. Like he talks about how other channels have that video up and they're just labeled. When I was given a community strike and whatever that entailed at the time for that poem that Trump read, how many channels had the exact same content and were thriving? But the danger is in this new era where we have X and we have enhanced free speech, and that video that you, Alex, and myself did that should have been demonetized, that's still monetized to this day. If we want to keep that, this is kind of a precedent-setting moment. Like this is a big thing. It's a fulcrum. It's a pivot point. And if we let it slide, it could happen to any of us. So I think it's very important. Like I don't think you can understate the importance of what's happened here, especially if we get C63 back. If Carney goes full censorship in the fall, we might want this already in process to try and protect us further down the road.
So obviously we have a government right now that's not on our side in Canada, but the United States is a very different story. And you might not think that the United States government is on our side as Canadians. That may or may not be the case, but they are on the side of Americans. And I keep calling him Senator, but Secretary of State Marco Rubio recently tweeted this out. He said, for far too long, Americans have been fined, harassed, and even charged by foreign authorities for exercising their free speech rights. Today, I'm announcing a new visa restriction policy that will apply to foreign officials and persons who are complicit in censoring Americans. Free speech is essential to the American way of life, a birthright over which foreign governments have no authority. Now, this doesn't apply to this YouTube channel that's in question.
But there's a hell of a lot of American content consumed by Canadians. And we have that bill, I can't remember which one it was, the thing that makes Canadian news unavailable on Facebook. Like there's already government interference in what you can consume. Now, admittedly, that's not directly linked, but if they're going to try and say that Americans cannot say certain things in Canadian jurisdiction on the internet, which is a worldwide public space, this could directly apply to that. Oh, a shot over the bow.
No, this is where I'm hoping my American citizenship comes into play, because if CBC comes after me, as a lot of people are worried about a target coming on their back, I'm thinking, you know what, screw it, come at me, bro, because I'm gonna rely on this, because he states in this, he says, what does he say? To all foreign officials and persons who are complicit in censoring Americans. He doesn't say Americans on American soil.
That's right. He said what he said, and he didn't say what he didn't say.
And he didn't mince words.
For a reason. Yeah.
They
pick words for a reason, right?
That's exactly it. And I think Canada's up. It needs a wake up call. And I hate to say it, but Canada suffers from one thing, and it's the big thing that Canada suffers from is from people just complicity. It'd be inconvenient if I fought that. I'll just go along with it. Cool, whatever. Not really fighting things on principle. And this is one of those ones where I'm just like, no, I want to keep on this one. I know it's not my fight. I don't need to fight this fight. But it's a principled stance. That's where I'm really on that one.
I think people are going to rediscover principle when the value of their homes is in sharp decline. The labor market participation rate is something like 68% right now.
Is that really? It's that dismal?
There's a whole lot of people that ain't working in this country. The unemployment rate doesn't tell the story. I think it's pretty bad. I think it's like 68% labor market participation. You combine that with a declining value in the purchasing power of the dollar, the rampant criminality. Eventually, all of these things, and I've been saying this for years, and that's the problem I have. I've been saying this for years, and it hasn't happened yet. I've been saying it for years, and it didn't happen in the last election. But at some point, that there has to be a wake-up call, and the realization that these people who have been running this country for a very long time are not good for the people, let alone the country. There has to be an inflection point somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't know what it's going to take. The answer that always pops into my mind is more pain. You got to have more pain because people obviously haven't heard enough, or they're not being honest enough about the pain that they're experiencing. You know, it's got to get more acute, and that sucks. But you know, you can't wake. You're having a hard time waking people up intellectually with facts and videos and figures and.
I know. It's tough.
It is. Well, and the people that you're trying to reach, at least, I'm not just looking to be an echo chamber, because I do see people. I don't know how often it happens, but people do come in, viewers that come from the other side, or they have a different opinion, and they stick around. So it does happen, but it's so few and far between. It's such an uphill battle. Like if I'm getting 5 or 10 new people like that a month who are actual liberals who are sticking around, that means that you're getting, at your size, only 50 or 60. We got a long way to go to change the country. You know what I mean? To get people understanding things.
Well, liberty is the hill that I've always decided that's the hill, and I'm willing to die on. Now, does liberty have a flag? I don't think so. And that's why, like, when, especially with current developments, and the fact that I'm an American citizen, you know, a lot of, you know, I get it. You know, Clyde, you're moving to America, you're a traitor. Yeah, whatever. Traitor to liberty? No, I'm not. And I'm seeing this huge movement, which I think is a liberty movement in the West, especially with Alberta at the moment. That's where I think the most equity is when it comes to hope for a change in the future. Ottawa, we tried it.
Well, there's no mechanism at the federal level. Citizen involvement is abysmal. You know, you get to participate in an election once every 4 years, and then that's it. That's all you get. That's all the sovereignty that you get to sniff. And then after that, you're just a subject. It sucks. And it kind of sucks.
You can get involved in the party level. And I've learned sharply that's a very interesting game.
There's very powerful vehicles in the provinces to get involved in politics. That's for sure. It would be very easy for a group of people with concerted intent to take over the Saskatchewan NDP. 200 or 300 people could probably do it if they wanted to. Like it's so, and it's kind of funny because I think the Western provinces are the ripest for a movement towards citizen empowerment. Like, we talk about autonomy, we talk about sovereignty, we talk about it at the provincial level, but the very basis of it all should be an improvement in the citizens' ability to project their own rights and privileges onto the world. Like, I had this conversation again the other day because a person was just like, "Oh, you don't want Carney as a leader, but you know you'd be willing to take dictator Trump." And I said, "Show me in a video where I talk about Trump. I talk about the American Constitution. I talk about the superiority of their rights and the better governing system that they have, because they do, with all of the problems, and we can parse that too. But the Canadian system disenfranchises the people who pay for it." And
here's the thing: like, you're talking to two people. Like, you and I we both have the same libertarian sentiment or sensibilities, And I think this one will hit you. This one will hit you pretty good. This was posted by Vesper Digital. He put this one out there, and this is a December 17th, 2024 speech by Rand Paul. And I totally agree with this. I'd love to get your feedback on this.
The National Emergencies Act of 1976 was supposed to be a reform of presidential emergencies. It was supposed to limit the power of presidents. In that act, they actually gave a legislative veto. If an emergency were invoked by a president and the majority of Congress voted it, they would be legislatively able to reject that emergency. In some ways, the United States of America is a monarchy in disguise. The United States maintains the veneer of a constitutional republic, but often operates as an elected monarchy in which the president exercises awesome and unchecked power by decree and in perpetuity. If the Republic Act, my amendment today, were accepted, the president would no longer be able to utilize this power, at least would have a limited power during a limited time, and a majority of Congress would have to affirm the continued use of this emergency. If anyone doubts that emergency powers can be abused, just look to Canada. As Gene Healy of Cato Institute wrote, America's neighbors offers a cautionary tale about the risks that broad emergency powers could be turned inward against political dissent. In early 2022, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau faced a mass protest against COVID-19 restrictions, in which Canadian truckers obstructed key border crossings and effectively shut down the capital city with their rig. Instead of simply clearing out protesters and punishing them via conventional legal means, Trudeau invoked emergency powers broad enough to permit the financial unpersoning of anyone participating in the protest. He went to their bank accounts and took their money.
He behaved like King George. That's what he did.
When people raised money voluntarily through crowd financing to help these truckers, he stole that money as well through martial rule. Without any rule of law, he took the money. No transaction with the protesters. He took their money. People were locked up under martial law. Canada's 1988 Emergencies Act gave the Trudeau government staggering powers to subject individual protesters to debanking without due process. This is the danger of presidential power, of excessive presidential power. It isn't about any individual president. It's about all presidents of either party, because men and women will succumb to the desire for power. It's inherent in all. That's why we must have checks and balances. Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland put it this way in describing Trudeau's martial law. As of February 2022, and a warning to the truckers, as of today, a bank or a financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order. The government of Canada, essentially Trudeau, could freeze a bank account without a court order, without due process of law. We are today serving notice. If your truck is being used in these protests, your corporate accounts will be frozen. The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. Send your trailers home. And while native-born Americans may think that emergency powers are to be used to target others, I would venture to guess that the Canadian truckers protesting COVID-era mandates didn't expect that their government would treat them as foreign adversaries and freeze their accounts. If it can happen in Canada, it can happen in the U.S.
That's profound.
Well,
man.
geez, there's a lot there. So it's kind of funny because it's not funny. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. It almost brings tears to my eyes to think that happened. And you can know that happened. And then you hear it laid out succinctly like that again. And it's like, that's where Canada is. Because, and what Rand didn't mention is the fact that they were found by our courts to have committed a grievous wrong against the public. And they never faced any consequences for it. He got to stay in office until he left. Now, the other part of that is what he's talking about with the United States. The brilliance of the Constitution is that it recognizes the people have a voice, the majority have a voice, the land that they live on has a voice. The dictator, which is the executive, is another, the autocrat, the leader, is another important element of a hierarchy, and a judiciary. So they created systems to represent all of those, and then the states themselves mimic a lot of those systems and create another layer. It is layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. The president, I mean, the first Trump term should have shown everybody that the president does not have unlimited power. He got bogged down. And now he's into this term. He's experiencing headwinds in the courts. He's getting some of his stuff done, but once again, he's fighting with the courts, and these checks and balances exist. He doesn't have unlimited power. He can sign as many executive orders as he wants, but then Congress and the Senate and the judiciary often peel a lot of that power away. In Canada, the power is totalitarian. The prime minister can just go over to Rideau Hall and get a signature. Order in council, special warrants, rule by edict, send Parliament home, and issue spending. Like they're talking $450 billion in spending without even a budget. Like it's a joke. We don't even need Parliament anymore. We should just get rid of it because the only function Parliament serves is to vote on new laws. But
and it's a thing for YouTubers to comment on. I've been watching, I saw so many videos of people, they're all excited because question and answers back or they don't call it question and answer because there's no answers. It's question period, right? Because it's schmarmy, whatever.
All scripted. Everybody knows the questions ahead of time. Everybody gets to plan their answers.
It's absurd.
You knew that, right?
I didn't know that they were
back and forth.
Oh, they have to submit their questions.
I don't know if they have to, but everybody often knows exactly how it's going to proceed, and then they're just delivering their lines. Both parties.
Either way, it's just a schmarmy fest, and it serves no purpose except for the ones that want to pay attention to that. It's a bread and circus. I mean, it's not even the good bread and circus. The good bread and circus is elsewhere, right?
Yeah, and we're at a point. Parliament appoints. So it's hard to even spit it out. Parliament appoints the government, and then that government can interpret there's so many laws on the books, and they can create interpretive orders of all of those laws. So they don't even really need Parliament to pass new laws. They can just take existing laws and interpret them through cabinet and through the governor general, like the orders and councils on firearms. They just issued an edict making property illegal. And I don't think people understand that can happen to your house. That can happen to your
it's worse. When it comes to that, even the RCMP has that
power now too.
Yeah, the RCMP has the authority to reclassify firearms, which we saw recently with what was it? The crypto. I don't know. It's a firearm. Somebody in the comments will know. It was called. It's not a crypto anything. It was just called the crypto. It was like an AR-15 variant, totally Canadian compliant because of all the bans. Now, the RCMP, the government, everybody encouraged people go out and buy this because this is now legal. You can have that, and yeah, okay, crypto. Somebody's gonna give it in the comments what it was exactly, but yeah, people were encouraged to buy this firearm, and then the RCMP one day, stroke of a pen, it's prohibited. You're now no longer a law-abiding citizen. You're now a criminal for having that in your possession.
And that
for me,
the CCFR case that went to the appeals court, it hasn't gone all the way to the Supreme Court yet. That proved it's not just firearms; it's all of your property is subject to that same. So you don't own anything because one moment you're legal, the next moment your possession is illegal, and it's all done without a vote, without parliamentary oversight, by bureaucrats you can't touch, you can't elect. Maybe you can sue them, but are the courts going to be helpful in this country? Most of your judges have been appointed by this government. We're in a tough spot. This is why my hopes with the provinces now, because the Senate's stacked, the judiciary stacked, the Liberals are back in power. What are we to do?
So that brings this clip to mind. Pop this up. This is David Lametti who incidentally, after Jody Wilson-Raybould was shifted off, became the what's the governor general? That's the term. So the lawyer for the government. He became that. He got that job after Attorney General. Is that what it is?
I think so.
So the Attorney General. So she didn't want to play ball and not prosecute. This is so funny. She got canned for not wanting to not prosecute somebody instead of not wanting to do her job. She wanted to do her job and got fired for that. And so this guy was the guy who replaced her. And this is what he had to say about property rights.
We'll obviously tailor the provisions so that it could withstand a court challenge. You don't have an absolute right to own private property in Canada.
It's true.
Deliberately
left out.
There are steps that are taken when expropriations happen at whatever level of government, and we'll be sure to stay with.
And we'll be sure to stay within the law for that. And not only that, we're going to make new laws to make it easier for expropriations.
But that should really chill people. The fact,
dude,
that doesn't exist, but that when Trudeau the Elder wrote the charter at the request of Quebec, private property rights were deliberately left out. That's insane to me in a modern society, that private property was deliberately left out of our charter rights.
I didn't know that was at the hands of Quebec. Why would Quebec want to leave that out?
Quebec doesn't want a strong federation. Anything that strengthens the federation, Quebec is against by default. There's books written on the subject. But either way, you don't have property rights, period. So the house that you struggle to buy and own, you don't really own it. You have title.
Not it. You know who also was a big proponent of that? He had a funny mustache. He lived in the 40s. Apparently, he offed himself in a bunker. So he thought that the clinkety clank guy in the nation really close to him, the Italian one, the one that ended up with his intestines all over the street one day,
hard way to go.
Hard way to go. So he had this idea, the bundle of sticks or whatever. And he was like, yeah, socialism is like this. And this is the kind of brand of socialism we like. So the funny mustache man, he came out and he said, here's a great way to run it. We'll give people the facade of private ownership. But at the end of the day, everything's owned by the state, really. So it's this it's socialism, but on the surface level, it doesn't function like socialism. It only functions like socialism when we don't like how you're doing things. Right? So you become a manager instead of an owner of your own private property. And then if at any given time they want you to do something different, they request that you do it differently. And if you refuse, they come in and they take it. That was the model under the bundle of sticks model, the fascist model. That literally is how they did it.
Yeah, I'm actually one of the books that I'm reading is I can't remember the name of the author, Ian something or other, but he's another one that's taken another stab at the history of that time. And the current chapter that I'm on is talking about that very point, coincidentally, that how the mustache man was able to convince the electorate to vote for the 25 points in the platform of the party. One of those points was expropriation. The state has an absolute right to expropriation. The way he sold it to the public was he had a certain group of desert dwellers that he didn't like, and it was just going to be their property that he was going to seize for the benefit of his people. But it applied to all of them equally. So, I mean, I've always said that the difference between the mustache man and what we have currently through the UN or the WEF or through Lenin or Stalin, hopefully I can say their names, It's funny, eh? You can
I
sell,
just use the names anyway. We could say Hitler and all that.
you
crap.
can sell beer in this country with a hammer and sickle on it. There's actually a brand of beer that in Ontario, it's
Shut
a
up.
microbrew, has a hammer and sickle. It's in every single LCBO. No problem.
And they do
With
it
all
at
the
no
things that
profit.
happen.
They don't make any money making it.
I'm sure. I'm not. No, they make all kinds of money. It's just pure capitalism. But you couldn't sell the other symbol, and I think a lot as both systems suck, but one killed a lot more people than the other one. But they sell products, and I remember when I was in high school, there was a kid in high school. He wore a T-shirt every day with CCCP on it, and I used to think to myself, how is that kosher? And how is the other thing not? Like, how did we do that? Because the only difference between the two, one's international and one's national. One was ethnic and national, and the other was international melting pot. And we've got the melting pot version. So and neither one believes in private property.
We're in the wrong business, Frank.
We should be in the business of innuendo and trying to talk about things without talking about them.
No. We should be in the business of selling communists shit on the free market.
You know what? It works. People do it all the time.
Dude, we should be making Che Guevara
Elbows
shirts.
up.
We should be, all of that stuff.
Elbows up.
Sell
with
them
the
their
hammers.
crap, and then take that money and a proceed of it goes to like conservative stuff. Like, how funny would that be if they were just unbeknownst to them, we're funding like all kinds of awesome.
You set up a not-for-profit that sells rainbow flags, trans flags, hammer and sickles, memorabilia from the Soviet era, and all of the profits are funneled into conservative PACs.
How freaking funny would that be?
Man,
Just for the irony, it's worth it, man.
Someone's got to be doing that already. Someone's doing that. America, someone in the United States is doing that.
I've always loved that though. You know, you go to your like Occupy Wall Street and whatever, and they got their little booth where they're selling their pins and patches and all this stuff with Marx and Engels, and nobody knows what Engels looks like. They don't know what Marx looks like, but they have their Che Guevaras and all that stuff. And somebody's making money, and they're like, no, hold on. You can't, no, put that patch back until you pay me. You know what I mean? Wait a second. That's a market. That's the market. I have so much fun with that. It's just so much fun.
I think it was 2002 or 2003. I went to Toronto as part of a protest of the impending invasion of America into Iraq. Went there in a bus. And I'm walking down through all the protesters, and there's a stall set up for the Marxist-Leninist Party of Canada. And I went up to that stall, and they had newspapers. And I bought one for money. That's it. That's the whole story.
And I bought one for money.
They wouldn't give me it, so I had to pay for it.
You didn't try to just like say, "Oh well, I'm a philosopher. This is the part of my this is my function in society." Isn't that funny? Like, like all the most famous socialists have all been kicked out of communes. Like, was it what's his nuts? Bernie Sanders. When he was younger, he was in a commune. He joined in, and while everybody was like, you know, digging and toiling and doing all this stuff, he'd sit on the couch and read his books. And they'd be like,
he's the manager.
Hey, what are you doing, Bernie? You gotta get up, and we're all doing this. He's like, yeah, but don't you see? I'm the guy. I gotta toil with the philosophy. I'm doing the philosophy thing. I'm philosophizing. This is my role in society. Yep. Bernie, work needs to get done. I'm doing all the work. It's so hard. I'm exhausted. I'm so exhausted. Well, yeah, they kicked him out. They get the fuck out of here, man.
The vast majority of the most dedicated socialists always picture someone else doing the work.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's always somebody else doing the work.
Which is why it doesn't work.
And those dirty capitalists, what are those dirty capitalists doing?
Work, making money.
They're always trying to
value.
they're always trying to figure out what other people in society would want more of and fulfilling those needs.
Bastards. Self-serving. Isn't that funny? They're known as self-serving, but really they make money by serving.
That's exactly it. That's the beauty of the market. It's
Yep.
the beauty
Even
of the
with
market is
strategy.
the only way you're ever going to get wealthy is if you can find something that other people want or need and fulfill that want or need. It's beautiful.
Matthew Jenkins, dirty capitalists, they will never understand our over 9,000 genders. I just caught my funny bone.
It's over 9,000. If you're from the old internet, you'll get that meme. If not, I don't know if I can explain it to you. It's Dragon Ball Z. It's Oprah Winfrey, and it's got a whole lot of lols. Let's get into some of these other super chats that we haven't covered
You
yet.
get a gender. You get a gender. You get a gender.
So Studio 778 for $6.99 says maybe that's why Rubio said what he said. The WH is watching. Wait for it. I'm not. Oh, the White House.
Yeah. Watching what other countries do.
Watch for it. Mr. Doom becoming a member. Thank you so much, Mr. Doom. Really appreciate it. What were you going to say there?
Just, it's politicians make statements, and I think there's a temptation by even members of my audience to read too far into what the White House is saying when they're positioning, they're signaling, just like any other political grouping is. It's not to assume that their power is absolute. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of push back against this notion that the White House is coming to our rescue, because I don't think that's a good way of thinking at all.
No, and in fact, that's the one part of Alex Zoltan's. He came up with this thing, Trump savior syndrome, and as opposed to Trump derangement syndrome. I think it's kind of a cope, but at the same time, there is some sense to it. So the savior syndrome, like somebody's coming to get you. People experience that.
We all
with
want to
Max
be
Bernier.
saved. It's natural, but you should just get to work. You should just try and save yourself and your fellow man, and like just do what you can do. Because
one thing to know though, if there is a cavalry, that if you can make the right signal that the cavalry will come, that is a real sense of hope. So, if for example, if Marco Rubio says that we're going to do this, if there's a censorship thing, and if something happened to me and I got censored, that I could go to the US and say, I'm an American. Look at what they've done to me. Perhaps I can call on the cavalry. You know what I mean?
But that's like, it's almost more collaborative. It's not, you're not waiting. You would be taking action in the hopes that they would reciprocate your action. Because here you are out here doing your work
and fulfill the thing that they said that they would fulfill, right? And that's the point.
That's right.
Yeah, that's very different than like a savior mentality. It's like, if I get in trouble, I could try to lean on that one. That's the thing.
I've been meaning to make a video about the headwinds, because I keep talking about the headwinds that the Trump administration is facing, and there's a lot of them, and it deserves its own video, and I haven't gotten to making it yet. But it's not just the judiciary; it's his foreign policy is bogged down. The situation with Canada is on hold because I think everything else that they're dealing with is so complex. So it's, thinking that he's just in total control and you can just sit back and wait for things to happen to you is just, it's not good. And I think it's interesting too.
Well,
That's
this is tonight. This is tonight. So breaking, Donald Trump just posted on Truth Social that he is raising the tariffs on aluminum and steel from 25 to 50% effective June 4th. That's happening.
Big jolt. Big. I just love how much of a troll he is. Like he is meaningfully trying to do things, and he's such a troll at the same time, and I love it. I can't help but the way he operates.
Yeah, so he says, it's my great honor to raise the tariffs on steel and aluminum from 25 to 50%. I'm sorry to laugh to all those people in Algoma or all those people. Yeah, it sucks. It totally sucks. But don't blame Trump. Blame your own government for the inactivity on what is a beneficial relationship between the two countries. Effective Wednesday, June 4th, our steel and aluminum industries are coming back like never before.
Never before.
Like it's never been this way. It's never been so great. Frankly, I think it'll be the greatest it's ever been. This will be yet another big jolt of great news for our wonderful steel and aluminum workers. Make America great again. That's what he says. We're doing it. That's what they're doing.
Timetable wise, though, before I forget, Danielle Smith setting the target timeline for her referendum in 2026, I think, is quite significant. I haven't quite figured out. I haven't quite figured out why, but I think her and Mo and developments in the West are being cultivated towards that timeline. That things, I just got a sense that things are going to develop and mature over the next year rather than say over the course of the summer. Like a lot can change. If the housing market comes unglued, Canada falls into a recession, these tariffs take a bite out of our what industry we have. Maybe she sees something, you know. I've been trying to puzzle it out.
The EV mandate is like the crux. It all takes place 2026, and they can't cancel it unless they cancel it outright. It's a plan. It's a how many year plan? 2026 to 2030. That they're banning internal combustion engines in Canada.
It's not going to work. It's
the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yep. It's like
I hope they go through with it. I hope they go through with it, because them going through with it is Alberta separating. It's then Saskatchewan separating. It's all that Quebec would even separate over that.
And
it's crazy.
I was at a lunch last Sunday. There's like 30 people there at this lunch, and everybody, and none of I don't think any of them know that I make videos. I don't think any of them know my content. Everybody was talking about the common sense of no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Everybody was talking about the prospect of independence versus statehood. Everybody was talking about how much Canada sucks. And this was a diverse range of people. Like it was, and they were openly talking about it. And me as a guy who I lived in Ontario for 42 years, you would have never had that conversation in Ontario. Ever.
You probably
but this
still won't.
Is a common theme here. People talk openly about this stuff, and it's kind of the majority of the conversation. So the NDP is losing their mind, but I mean that in Saskatchewan and in Alberta, but I think they've missed the boat. And then the chiefs, the Indian chiefs or the native chiefs, come out in Alberta saying they're against any form of separatism, and you see all of this social media by the people forced to live under the Indian Act, and they are not saying the same thing. So there's a reckoning coming.
Yeah, they're not happy with it. Yeah, they're not happy with it. The natives are not happy with how they're being run.
Isn't it funny? We're not supposed to, like, my grandfather was a native man. We're not supposed to call anybody Indians anymore, but the whole governing structure is called the Indian Act, and we haven't done anything about it.
They call themselves Indians. I hear it all the time.
I know. They don't even care. The
indigenous, you have to call them indigenous, the whatever. It's a grift. All that's a grift.
I think so. Like all the land,
all of the language and all of the stuff. It's like, yeah, it's a grift. They don't care. Like the people don't care.
I mean, some people are saying the land acknowledgements is the thing I read. Jack Posobiec. Have you seen what he wrote on that?
No, I like Jack. I like Jack.
I liked him too. Well, I like him. But
you liked him? Oh, okay.
I still like him, but he said something really stupid the other day, which was the king came over and he did a land acknowledgement. And that basically means that Canada doesn't exist because it's on legally or illegally, or it's on unceded land. And the king acknowledging that means automatically that America can annex Canada. That's it.
Wait, what?
That's the leap.
Okay.
That's the leap. And everybody ran with that leap. I did a
Wait,
video.
what? That's a big leap. Where there was nothing in between.
No. Well, what was in between was
I get that. So if the king says that it's unseated, that means he didn't conquer it. So then it's independent. It's no longer a part of the monarchy. The hell are you doing sitting on the throne? Go back to England. But how does that tie into like America?
Literally goes right to America's annexation can't be opposed. Right to that. From that point to that point. And that's the narrative. And I'm like,
oh, so the annexation cannot be opposed?
Yeah, cannot be opposed. It's Canada is America. Canada is going to be taken by America because of that land acknowledgement. And I'm thinking to myself,
I don't know about that. Like I could say that, you know, he could say that the king has no business in that because he doesn't own the land or whatever.
People have forgotten where these land acknowledgements came from. Like it's not just this domestic
it's
issue.
a UN thing. It's a
UN thing, which is that King Charles is tied up in. We used to know this stuff, and then Trump came along. Now everybody's lost their mind and they forgot.
Yeah, it's all about trying to use like some BS backdoor was it UNDRIP to try to put more rights into the hands of indigenous, but it doesn't actually. It really just gives it more
to New York.
Authority to like a central authority to determine what actually gets appropriated for land wise and yada. It's more communism.
The Oilers can't even play a hockey game in Edmonton without a land acknowledgement. Like, it's
dude, I'm tired of Turtle Island. Nobody believes in Turtle Island. No modern native is like, yo, what, you know, back in the day we used to all live on a turtle. Like nobody thinks that for real. It's so funny.
It's contrived, and it's not going to. And this is a message that I think everybody needs to get. If old Canada or old stock Canada or traditional Canada or cultural Canada does not come together with natives, there's not going to be anything left of anything that either of us dream about. Like we really have to blaze a new trail here, or we're just going to be drowned. Our culture is going to disappear. Our country's
fast too, because it's really quickly gone. Let's get through some of these super chats, and then do you do Discord? Are you on Discord?
I might be, I might not be, but I can try.
Yeah, so we have a Discord that we, after the live streams on Friday, we go and hang out and listen to what other people have to say in the community. So one of our moderators, get in the chat. I think G Meister or somebody, get in the chat and get that link in there so you can get people into the Discord community. We only allow people in the Discord community on Fridays. We leave a window just during the live stream, and then we shut that window so that trolls and other douchebags don't end up in the, and then we quickly like close the window, and if any douchebags file in or trolls or bots, we kick them out right away. It's really tight knit and it's really cool. So I think you'll enjoy it. Anyway, let's get to some of these chats.
I'm gonna name myself douchebag.
Awesome. Jackass Whiskey and Pinto Beans for 5 says the U.S. legal system and Canadian legal system are different. It's is discovery part of Canada's legal system? Well, discovery is part of when you file a lawsuit. So when there's damages, when there's anything, discovery has to be made. So that's like one of the initial phases. You have to present the evidence on both sides. So that's part of it. And if there's evidence that's available that maybe you don't have access to, but through the court you can subpoena for that evidence to be brought to the court. So for example, if YouTube has correspondence with CBC and CBC has correspondence, you could say, I would like the plaintiff to provide this evidence and everything truthfully, and then also subpoena YouTube so that they'll bring forward that. It's discovery. That's how all that works. Hopefully that clears that up. Albertan Nan for $6.99 says Celtic Canuck had her conservative channel canceled too. Clyde might be an idea to reach out to her. So she commented on one of my things recently saying that it sounded very defeatist, like it doesn't matter what you do, blah blah blah. They're gonna that. I think she got a negative experience. I didn't know that she had her stuff canceled. I thought she deleted everything off her channel and then just like laid low. So I don't know. I don't know how that worked out. Church of Hertz for 2 says that's no YouTube problem. That's a me problem. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. We talked a lot about a lot of things since that.
Yeah, this Gong show's gone so far off the rails. Who knows what that was about?
Yeah. Apologies. I'm glad it was only $2. Sorry. Jam for 5 says, you want to hear a story about government corruption? I have a doozy. I tried to get a hold of you, Rebel, and many others with no response. Well, Jam.
You left us hanging.
Yeah, you left us hanging. I don't know what the story is. Hit me up in the Discord or perhaps on X. I don't know. I'm not sure how you can. My email's on the main YouTube page, so send me an email. Perhaps I'll get it. I try to catch everything. That I get a lot. So hopefully send it more than once. Jackass Whiskey and Pinto Beans for 5. The great thing about US is that many people are single issue voters, and single issue is the Second Amendment. Oh, well, yeah. If the single issue is the Second Amendment for a lot of voters, that's good. That would mean Republicans would take mostly. I don't know. I'm a big 2A. I'm a first A. Yeah. I like the Constitution. I think it was a great document. And I wish we had one in Canada, because I have one in the United States under my citizenship there. Rob, soon to be from the 51st state for $5, says I spoke to a CO at Maplehurst, CC 600 over capacity. Are you sure what that even means?
Nope, I have no clue.
CO for me means conservation officer
or conservation officer. Maplehurst.
A CC
600 over capacity. 600 over capacity.
I wonder what we were talking about at the time. I'm so sorry.
Maplehurst?
I don't know the context. It's so hard to know what the context is.
Correctional facilities. So 600 over capacity at a jail. That's what that means.
Ooh, that's not good.
Correction officer at Maplehurst CC. That makes sense. Okay.
That means we have more criminals. So just let them out on the streets like they've been.
Yeah. It's where they belong.
Jackass Whiskey and Pinto Beans for 5. The Mercury Dime, 1916 to 1945, had faces on the obverse, or is that reverse? I don't know. That's a really
the maple dime. What the what
unique? The Mercury Dime. Okay, you look that up. I'm holding my pee. I got
Mercury Dime. What was the range? 19. You see, I'm not even set up. I see. I have to. I got to get better set up the next time we do this. 1916 to 1945. Let's look at an image. You're right. There it is. E pluribus unum. That's a fascist. That's a fascia, all right. Fash. Very true. So, chat, who's even still here? We need more guns, says Timothy Jones. Probably.
There we go. Did you figure out what the Mercury Dime was?
Yeah, I got a picture of it. It does. It has the, what do you call it? The bundle of sticks with the axe, the fasci. Is that what it's called? The fasci?
It's a fasci
It's an American dime.
with the fasci on it.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
46 to 45, and once obviously after 45 they ditched the fasci.
Yeah, 45 that fell out of favor. Well, I mean, America did have a significant fascist movement for a while. It just never got anywhere.
So the fascist is the idea of one stick on its own, it's easy to break.
Yep.
But if you bundle a bunch of them together in a faggot, I'm saying
You
the
did
word.
it.
Right?
You did it.
Boom, ba-dum. But yeah, you bundle them up, and faggots are hard. And that's why they like the 1940 43 paraphernalia. Turns out they sure
Faggots
do.
got wood.
Mr. Roscoe Pico, member for 31 months, says have a great weekend with the whoop whoop hands up. Thank you so much. You guys are the best. You guys are a riot. It's fun. It's fun when we get into the second half of the third hour on a live stream. But we're gonna have to
all this for a 4-minute video.
Yeah, right. We're gonna have to call this one. But did you get over to the Discord? Did you get that link?
I haven't. No, I've got the link. It's queued up. What I have to do is take my headset to a different spot, and then I'll get in, because I don't know if I gotta check it. I got banned once on there, so I got to figure out what email I'm going to sign up with. Do I have to do it right now?
Okay. No.
Yeah, I'll be there. I just have to.
Yeah, I'll be over there as soon as we finish, and then just pop in afterwards. So everybody in the Discord, or who hasn't joined the Discord, G Meister just put the link in the chat there. The link is only available for a very short period of time. It's only available during the live streams and maybe for like an hour or so afterwards. But then, boop, those links go dead. So you can't join afterwards. Join in, become part of the community, and then chat. We'll do a live group chat tonight. There's a handful of people in there. It usually goes pretty quick, but it sounds like Frank's going to be joining us tonight. So that's a treat especial. Check that out. I'm doing the French thing. I'm cultured. That's going to be fun. We're going to get in there again, second half of the third hour. So have fun with that. Come join us. Frank, it's been such a pleasure to have your company in this live stream.
I appreciate it. I feel like I derailed your whole theme, but we're here. It was a good time.
No, and you know what? There's been a bunch of super chats because of the fact that you joined. So, I know I said 50%, but I'm going to give you a lion's share of that, because I know a lot of people donated just because of that. So we'll be exchanging informations after this one. So everybody knows that, when you're donating here, because of that, you're donating. I know why you were donating, so I'm not going to put my hands in that pocket. We're going to be sending that out. No, but
I'll argue with you about it in the Discord.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. So, want you guys all to have a great weekend. If we don't see you in the Discord and we don't see you elsewhere, Frank and I will both be active come Monday. We'll both have videos to talk about all the fancy shit that happened over the weekend. So have fun. Love your faces, and we'll see you all in the next one. Keep on tracking.